Hello, everyone. Welcome to Indie Game Club. We're so excited to have you, whether you're watching on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook. We appreciate you being here with us today. My name is Michael Zytkow. I'm the founder and executive director of Potions and Pixels nonprofit based out of beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina, where we're broadcasting today. And I'm joined by two amazing people who you know well if you've watched this show, Legend of the Star and Tony Taiga. If I can get them to wave to the audience, please, I appreciate it. I'll have them introduce themselves in a moment, but if you're a regular viewer, you know at first we like to talk a bit about some of the events we've done before and some of the events we have coming up. So let's check that out right now. So of course, we've been doing our Tuesday community conversation series. We started in August with Black Voices in Gaming. Then we moved to Women in Gaming with the wonderful folks at the Athena Alliance. All of these conversations, I should say, are sponsored by our good friends at Lowe's, and they are archived on YouTube and Facebook. So if you missed any of these, you can still catch them. We then went on to custom game controllers, where we explored the art, technology, and people behind custom game controllers and modding controllers. And we also want to give a shout out to our friends at Red Bull who threw in an arcade stick for this event. So thank you to them. We then moved on to Games to the Rescue, where we explored how games are being used to fight against coronavirus. This is something you might not be aware of. Hopefully everybody is out there practicing proper social distancing and wearing masks, but you can also fight coronavirus by playing games like Eterna and Fold It. So definitely check that out. We started off September strong with Black Voices in Esports, a really fun conversation. Make sure to check that out again, YouTube and Facebook. We then had a series of events exploring LGBT plus representation in the game industry. And specifically, we were exploring, we were also having a discussion, I should say, about Tell Me Why. And if you're unfamiliar with Tell Me Why, it is the first game from a major developer, Don't Nod, and major publisher, Microsoft, through Xbox Game Studios, that had a discussion, the first major game from a major studio and major developer that had a transgender protagonist. So definitely check that game out. It is a phenomenal experience. 3 chapters, each about 3 hours long. I was very impressed with it. I also want to give a shout out to our friends over at the Athena Alliance, Charlotte Gamers Network, and PvP Hub Charlotte for helping us get that event together. After you're done playing that game, definitely make sure to go back to Facebook and YouTube to see part 1 of this conversation, as well as part 2, where we explored chapters 2 and 3. We then went on to have a discussion about the history of the Charlotte fighting game community. This is something I think is really important to keep digging into. If you're wherever you're watching from, the fighting game community, chances are, is incredibly strong in your community. And these are the hardcore folks who have kept a lot of the in-person gaming events alive from the 90s until now. So I think it's really important, especially for newer gaming organizations and newer people in the gaming community, to kind of pay homage and respect to those that came before us. So definitely check that out. This past Tuesday, we had Hispanic Voices in Gaming with Julio Nazario. It was such a fun conversation. If you were there for that, you know that we had a really good time exploring Julio's designs. Julio is a North Carolina-based board game designer. We were also able to discuss things like being a Hispanic voice in gaming, especially during Hispanic Heritage Month. So we were really excited to have that conversation. If you missed it, you can still check it out, Facebook and YouTube. And I'll actually show on the camera when I'm back on the screen one of Julio's games that I have in my hand right now, which you can buy in Target right now. The game in the background, Control, spelled CTRL, only $24.99. Definitely check it out. Of course, we also have our online game nights, where it's opportunity to play video games and board games on our Discord. Make sure to jump on our Discord if you are not there already. We're also super excited to continue having additional events for the new Charlotte Future city building game that we created. If you're unfamiliar with it, Potions and Pixels, we created a game for the planning department of the city of Charlotte to help people better understand the Charlotte Future 2040 comprehensive plan. That is a very important document if you're in Charlotte or care about Charlotte. This is definitely something you should try to get familiar with, because it's a guiding document for our city's future moving into 2040. So the first event we had last week actually filled up within just a couple of days. We had a limited amount of spots, and we have another one coming up on November 18th. We haven't really pushed it out too hard since it's a month away, but if you want to jump into it, make sure to join the Eventbrite because we have a limited number of seats for that one as well. And of course, with our Potions and Pixels Online League, we'll have some additional announcements for that soon. But of course, you all are here for Indie Game Club. And Indie Game Club, let me jump over to this here. Indie Game Club, we stream on Mondays, and we stream ourselves playing the games, I should say, on Mondays. At least Potions and Pixels does. Our guests also stream throughout the week. And then we discuss the games on Thursday. This is always one of my favorite things to do. I'm going to jump back over here to the main screen with our guests. I love this, y'all. Every time we talk, one of the fun things about us when we discuss this stuff is we kind of have a little trouble like controlling ourselves. We get together about half an hour before we go live, and we're all just like, "What'd you think about this? What'd you think about that?" And it's like we gotta save it for the show. Save it for the show.
Yeah.
So we're super excited. So let's go to our guests. You know them well. Let's start off with Legend of the Star. Legend, can you introduce yourself and where people can follow, subscribe, all that good stuff to your content, please?
So I'm Legend of the Star. I'm one of the stream team members of the Athena Alliance, which is a stream team based here in Charlotte. Love these ladies. Very proud to be a part of the community. I stream mostly on Twitch. You can find me by my username, Legend of the Star, and you can actually find me by that everywhere on Facebook, Snapchat, but keep the pictures appropriate. What else? Oh, Xbox, Twitter. Yeah, I'm super easy to find, and I'm super excited to get started on these games.
Thank you for being here. Let's all clap it up for Legend of the Star. We do it. Whether we're social distancing, we can still keep that energy going. And I will say, if you love indie games, Legend of the Star, I would say almost exclusively streams indie games. So her channel is a great place to go to discover something new. She has great content all the time. I always love when I see her on Twitch. I always pop in, even if I only got a few minutes, and then I find myself getting sucked in, and then I'm like, I'm gonna keep watching for the whole night. So it's always a great time. So thank you, Legend, for being here.
The death counter helps. I mean, the anticipation of all of the inevitable deaths is always my favorite part.
Love it. Next, we have series regular Tony Taiga. Tony, can you introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Yeah. Hey guys, Tony Taiga, definitely a reoccurring person on the Indie Game Club. It reminds me of the Breakfast Club or something.
Yeah. We got a trio here. This is a perfect.
Yeah, definitely familiar with Legend for sure. When it comes to you can find me at Tony Taiga 90 on Discord, Xbox, Nintendo. Online, everywhere, but I like to just say, hey, my name's Tony, and I like to play video games.
I love it. That's the best, solid, pure intro possible. I love what you said about the Breakfast Club. If we're all in the Breakfast Club, Tony, which who are you? Are you DJ Envy, Charlemagne, or Angela Yee as well?
I was talking about the movie.
Oh God, I thought you were talking about the trio, the radio show. Oh no!
You can do that too. No, but I was talking about. She's laughing. No, because we're the Breakfast Club, the movie. Even though I
love it
once.
Oh, that's a great movie. Great classic.
Yeah.
And we want to give a shout out to everybody who's watching and chatting right now. Derivative, thanks for jumping in. Derivative will be a guest soon on the show. He's an indie connoisseur. Make sure to follow his channel. Lady Bloodsport saying, "Are y'all excluding Courtney again?" No, we do have a fourth guest. Courtney's gonna be coming in here soon. But yeah, we're about to dive into it. But first, let's make sure we clap it up for Tony Taiga.
Oh, thanks.
We gotta keep it going. Gotta keep that energy going. So, folks, we're continuing our theme of spooky games this month. Last week we went over the Haunted PlayStation 1 demo disc. This week we got 4 games for you. We have No Players Online, Speed Dating for Ghosts, Babysitter Bloodbath, and Grimm's Hollow. I had to turn over here just to remember them all because there's so much stuff that we have. I want to make sure that if you are watching the chat, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, feel free to jump in all the time. You know we're hitting you up with, we're answering your questions, comments, life advice, whatever it may be. We want to hear it. Derivative saying, connoisseur? Way to make me sound fancy. Hey, Derivative, I got the utmost respect for you, man. I love watching your content. And
well, I mean, who doesn't want to sound fancy?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
especially during these times, right? Especially during these times. We gotta keep that energy going. So I figure if you all we didn't discuss this too much ahead of the show, but I was thinking we would start off with no players online as part of the first conversation. But I'm down to discuss any one of those four. Do you guys have a preference for which rabbit hole we go down first?
I think no players online is a good hole to go down.
You want to go down? Okay.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's good to start off with that.
Awesome. So why don't I go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and stream the trailer for No Players Online. Don't worry if you don't know what's going on. We might not know.
We didn't either.
Yeah.
We didn't either.
We love the game, though. I shouldn't speak for everyone. I love the game, and I can't wait to discuss it. So let's jump into it. This is the trailer for No Players Online.
Graphics like Donkey Kong with multiple screens. You have the arcade experience. Now you can bring the coming only from Atari.
He's better than me.
Galen Village. Tranquil. Quiet. But something has gone wrong.
Look at the bruises on the kid's neck. One hell of a large hand.
You shoot the light-sensing zapper.
The Commodore's keeping up.
Something lethal.
Everyone, was the trailer for No Players Online from Paper Cookies. Oops, let me make sure I got the trailer. Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah.
I started getting the next trailer. I got a little bit ahead of myself. There we go. That was the trailer for No Players Online playing on the side there. Yo, shout out everybody on the stream with the compliments. Way to make a guy feel good. I appreciated that very much. I recently got some good news coverage for the game I created, and I appreciate the Lady Bloodsport saying congrats on the news coverage. Clap it up for the host and all of you guys clapping it up. And Tony the Tiger right here, not only bringing that next level guest comments, but also donating to the show at the same time. My man right here. I absolutely love it. And Lady Bloodsport saying I'll need to wear double the amount of sunglasses for that exposure. I don't know if I can. Today I'm wearing glasses, I think, for the first time on Indie Game Club. All of us are, but I don't know if I can do the double look here.
So you'll need to have like the cool flip one.
Oh, I do. Yes.
Yeah.
You're right. I totally need to do that for sure.
Yo, Mike, one thing I can say about that trailer is that I personally didn't watch the trailer before.
I did not like it. When I saw the trailer, I was like...
But now watching the trailer, I'm like, this sort of makes sense now. Not like the game makes sense, but my experience makes sense.
Yeah, that's a wild trailer. I like the trailer. I think it's really innovative to try to bring in some different...
it was...
Let's hear it.
I don't know. It just... it was weird. It was like it was good in the sense that it was okay. We're gonna made it into a movie, so it's totally for the era for the game. It worked perfect.
Yeah.
But I just didn't like the cinematography of it. I don't know, like the kid and the gun, like at the first part, or the I don't know. That kind of made that made me.
It
made me
uncomfortable. But it definitely explained my experience.
Yeah, so that's what I want to... Yeah, let's get into that. And so first off, I think we should all three of us should yell, spoiler alert or spoiler warning, whatever the kids say. Spoiler alert!
I'm not even sure if I got to the end. Not.
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting thing about this game is you may not even know if you beat it or not, which is interesting.
You had to actually look up whether or not you had the true ending, which was... There's different.
So let's discuss that. Let's go into it. So, like, I'll give you the real quick itch description, and then we can get into the game. And I want to give a special shout out to the developer, Paper Cookies, who jumped into the stream when I was playing it and participated throughout, helped walk me through a lot of stuff, and it was just an awesome all-around person. So definitely shout out to Paper Cookies for sure. Okay, so here's what we got with no players online. You find a dusty VHS tape. On the side is written, "Capture the Flag Project, footage, March 20th, 1986. You decide to put it into the player." And so the next thing you have is you're putting in this VHS tape, essentially, or you're playing, I should say, you're controlling this, and you're going through an old school server list. Reminds me very much of like when I first got really into PC gaming and was playing a lot of Quake. You have this whole server list, you're jumping into it, you're kind of looking through it all, and then you jump into the game, and it's the title, as the title said, no players are online. You're playing alone, you're in an empty area, as you can see, and it's a capture the flag game with just you playing it. And shit gets really crazy really quickly. Tony, Legend, you guys want to talk about what happens next, and then we can go down this rabbit hole.
I think Tony
Oh,
should go
yeah,
first.
okay. Yeah, so the thing is that there is no, like you said, it brings you to a DOS screen. You end up, but all of the servers have no players. You're like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's the name. So you jump into a server, and you're not actually sure what you're doing. For a while, I didn't know the premise. So at first, it doesn't even tell you the controls. So there's no way to change the controls or really know what the controls are. This is a spoiler alert because it's going to save you like 30 minutes. So the mouse or the trackpad is how to aim. You right click to shoot. And R, which I didn't know until I watched Mike scream, is to reload, because I'm like, I only have 2 bullets. We
should say that you typically don't play FPS games on PC.
Yeah.
So,
that's another thing too. I typically don't play FPS games. But they still should have had some control, like some kind of a text file or something. But anyway, so you don't really know what you're supposed to do in the game. Very early on, there's a splash screen and there's a text all the way at the bottom that says "Capture the Flag," but I didn't know that until like my 3rd playthrough. But anyway, you jump into the game and you're in a room, and it looks as if there's you look around, you're not exactly sure what to do. There's nothing to shoot because there's no players. You start. I came across the presence of the game by trial and error. Yeah. Because really, there's nothing to do but to walk forward. Like, there's really nothing to do but just to walk. So if you walk and then you come to a room where there's a flag, and you're like, oh, that looks awfully familiar to capture the flag, like on Halo and everything. So you get the flag, and then it tells you, text at the top, bring it back to your home base or something. And it says 0 out of 3. So now you know, boom, I got to do this like 3 times. Mm-hmm. You do it 1 time, nothing happens. You see like a ghost somewhere, but not really. And then there's a I don't know what to call it. It's some kind of speaker box.
Old school, like record player, yeah.
Record player. There's a record player playing on the first flag. You come back, you come all over for the second flag. You're like, all right, cool. I think I might have saw like a ghost in the background, but I'm not really sure. But there's no enemies. You go back for the 3rd time, and you come back, and when you're like 75% back to your home base, the ghost appears, and it like comes towards you. And this is not spoiling it because I know this for a fact. This is not the true ending. But when the ghost comes towards you, I could not shoot and I could not reload. So it just kills me. So it kills me, and then it closes out of the program. On my Windows laptop, I click it again.
Hold on, actually, wait.
Yeah.
I was a little different. I never actually had that happen. The ghost will actually kill you?
To me.
Yeah,
That's when everything it goes to the end and then everything just kind of shuts down. So I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like that one.
That never happened to me.
It closes and and there's another weird thing that I probably want to talk to you about very early.
It closes
on.
if you finish the final flag. Is that what we're talking about? Or
after the final flag, you go all the way 75% to where you're at. And
then
you see a black ghost figure that keeps coming towards you.
Yeah.
You cannot shoot. You cannot reload. And then all of a sudden, the screen just goes and then it just and then the actual program on your laptop.
See, that never happened to me.
Yeah, happened to me.
So I was presented with a couple choices there. So here's.
Yeah, tell me what happened.
Yeah, so it's really creepy, right? Just walking around and seeing the little glitchy kind of ghost around there. And once you get that third flag and you're about to get to your base, exactly like you said, 75% of the way there, suddenly you get a chat log from the developer.
I think I saw that, but
oh man!
I saw it, but I did see that. I did see that, but it was one of those things that I didn't know it was important.
Oh my god, it's so important!
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
So the developer of the game is contacting you in the game itself.
Yeah, I thought that was sort of weird.
And so the developer explains to you.
And this is part of the game. This is not the physical developer at his house, joining the.
So that's a great point. This is a fiction. Yeah, this is the fictional developer of the game contacting you,
okay, cool.
And the fictional developer is telling you to stop, and then he's telling you to start chatting with him, but then he realizes he has an enabled chat with you, which I think is really great.
Yeah,
I like that idea because now he's telling you that you have to shoot twice to say you understand.
Yes. Yeah.
And so he tells you that if you deliver the final flag, you'll shut down the entire game. And
that's what I did.
And so that's what you did. Yeah, and so if you do that, the developer explains that the ghost is actually his wife, whose soul is trapped in the game. And that if you... Tony, I don't know how you missed this, man. This is the crazy part.
I read some of it, but some of it went by really fast.
It did go fast.
I'm so used to with text you hit enter and then you continue, but sometimes when you read it and it was going. So I got the premise of that,
right.
But then the rest of it, I was like,
if you delivered a flag, the game really does shut down. So, so that's 100% true. If that's what he was saying.
Yeah,
but I'm always confused. So I was starting to get frustrated because what Tony said, I didn't really know it was It was the basic sort of movement, but it was just, I don't know. It was weird for me. I didn't really like the controls necessarily. I think if I would have been able to adjust that a little bit better, maybe it would have improved for me. But I just got lost the entire time. I was so confused because I'm waiting for this thing because I had seen the preview, so I'm waiting for this dude to come for me, So I'm just me in dark games. I'm up close. I'm looking, I'm waiting, and you have a gun, so you're assuming there's gonna be some sort of I'm gonna have. Hello, why do you have a gun and there's no purpose to it, Yeah. But it was just so it was weird. It was different. I don't know. I don't like it. And I think it's helpful for devs to put, how do you play this game? Because, Tony's not used to it. Because there's people who don't know how to do.
All right.
Simple text file with controls.
So here's where I gotta come back, and I love I love how we all have different views on this. And shout out to all of the folks in the chat. Thanks also King of the Nerds, Tempest636. Thank you guys for hosting our stream. Really appreciate that so much, and thank you guys for participating in the chat as always. We love y'all. I'm gonna say this straight up. Yeah. So a couple things. First off, let's just get this right out front. This is an ARG. If you're familiar with ARG, that's an alternate reality game.
Yeah.
And so alternate reality games are games that It's somewhat difficult to describe, actually, and define, but these are games where you're usually down kind of a conspiratorial web where you have to use like different multimedia sources to kind of even discover what the whole thing is about. So there's been some famous examples, and these have been around for a while. I'll say like one of the first games that I was a fan of. I couldn't afford it when I was I think I was in middle school when this came out, I want to say, but there was a game called Majestic that came out from Electronic Arts. Believe it or not, EA had some creative stuff. Used to do a lot of creative things here. But I'll describe Majestic because I think it kind of it will help everybody understand what an alternate reality game it is. And there's plenty of examples that you can find. And some of them aren't in traditional game format. Some of them are just watching YouTube videos or Twitter threads, and then you're kind of unraveling a mystery. But what happened with Majestic is it was a game that you paid a subscription for. I think it was like $10 or so a month. And as part of the game, you were, this was back in the day too. I think that was, I think that part of the demise of it, not only was it so new, but it was a conspiratorial game that was like released right before 9/11. And so once a lot of stuff went down, but here's what was interesting about the game. It was like immediately after you subscribed and got into the game, you got a message that the game actually shut down. That the game was dead. And so you got a message that the game's not around anymore. When in reality, the game was still around. You were part of the game, and the game was actually communicating to you through phone, fax, email, everything. And you're going down this conspiracy, and as you're playing the game, and again, similar to games like this, you start to question reality. Am I a game? It's like the Michael Douglas movie, The Game. That's a great example.
Like The Matrix or something. So here's the question too, because now I can sort of see what you're describing and how it plays into this game. When you actually click the application icon, I think, and I could be wrong, that it screenshots your screen and it puts a videotape right in front of it. Is that true?
It's just a videotape on top of it. It doesn't take a screenshot of it.
Does a screenshot.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. You click it, and then there's like a some kind of emblem or a videotape.
Yep, we got that on the screen right there. Exactly. And I think that's kind of going down that sort of rabbit hole. But what just to go down this a little further is as you're playing this game, you do have to look to different sources. So I totally hear what you guys are saying, this game at first could appear very non-user friendly. Alternate reality games are typically the least user-friendly because they require not only you, but also a larger community to solve. And I see Derivative, who thankfully was helping me too. I will say my experience was a lot smoother because I had them directly helping me in the chat. But Derivative said he played this game in the middle of the ARG didn't figure it out. So it was fascinating.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with ARGs at all.
I never heard of it.
So having you explain it, when we kind of pre-chatted earlier, was kind of new to me, and it made sense after that. Then things start to click because gosh darn, our community has so many acronyms.
Yes,
so much information.
But does that fascinate you guys? I mean, does that concept fascinate you all? Like the idea?
It does. It does.
Yeah,
as long as it's preface. This is a AR.
Yeah,
but that's part of it. They're not. They intentionally don't do that, right? That's I hear you on that. But ARGs are one of the one kind of, I guess, genre that doesn't even want you to know it's a game or not a game. That's part of the mystery, right?
So having you explain it made it make more sense. Because if I had not known that's what it was, then I mean.
Because
that's why
I can see.
I like the game, but it's not a game that I would play again.
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. It's sort of, I want to say, it's like a gamer's game. Like, as a gamer, this fast, and it does make sense now knowing what an ARG is. But if this was like a consumer product that was just placed on a store, and Joe's little brother, who's like 8 years old, just picked up this game, he's not gonna know crap about what to do, man. You know what I mean?
Sure. And I actually, I asked I mentioned to the developer while we were playing it, is that this is made for like a kind of a hardcore group, I'll say, because the puzzles themselves get progressively harder. So after you get through
puzzles.
Well, yeah, the whole game.
More to the game.
Yeah, it's a massive puzzle game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so,
I don't think we went as hard as he did. Yeah.
Well, yeah, again, and I'm lucky to have had the developer and people like Derivative in the chat because, yeah, after you do it and you get your save game, your game file essentially is deleted, the whole game is done, is you actually have to go into the dev logs on the itch page and you look through the dev logs and you read them to start getting clues. And one of the clues that they give you is the famous Konami code. And the up, down, left, right, BA or A, BA, right?
I definitely understand. This sounds more like I said, it's, I don't want to say use the term gamer's game, but like if you were like an 8-year-old consumer, like me, I was 8-year-old, and in the game, I did what it's. I brought the third flag to the post, and then like the game just turns off, and then I go to click the icon, and now it says that no servers exist. And I don't know what to do, you know?
But guys, it gets even crazier than that because then you start researching into the developer, the fictional developer of the game. You can find that developer's page online. You can email that developer, and then when you
in the game.
No. In real life,
outside the game.
In real life, you email the developer. The developer you get a reply from the developer, an automated reply, which then leads you to the fictional developer's itch page, which then leads you to download and play a whole nother video game. And by playing that, you start seeing all this trippy imagery. You start hearing this song that has missing lyric that you then have to Google.
You went deep.
No, I did not figure this all out by myself. For sure not.
If you didn't have help, I think you would have quit with the rest.
Well, at some point, I think I wouldn't have been able to do it.
It's so funny because you're sitting here and you're talking about all this stuff, and I'm Tony and I'm just like,
sure.
Good job.
To anybody in the chat, real talk.
Yeah.
Completely honestly, because I was not aware of an ARG. Like, if you complete the third flag by bringing it to your base, and then the game shuts down, right? And then you go into the game, and now there's no servers, and there's honestly no way to play the game again, right? Would this be something that, like, would you stop there? Or who in the chat would actually go email the developer of the game?
Well, no, that's not the next step. The next step is you go to the itch page and you can look at the dev logs, and the dev logs hint that there's like a patch to fix things.
Yeah.
And so that once you start or something like that, it was like an early dev log that allows you to see stuff. I totally feel you. When I first went through that part, I had a moment where I was like, oh, okay, that might be it. But in the back of your mind, I think because the experience is so short and abrupt, then it does make you like immediately have those questions that you had, being like, there must be more to it. Yeah. And if you take it a step further, go down that rabbit hole, like the red pill, blue pill thing, and you go down a little bit further, then you start really being rewarded. And I would say that first few puzzles, kind of like after that, are doable. I felt like I even got a few of them on my own, like with a number.
And is this a characteristic of an ARG game? How many games have you played where you legitimately had to do something external from the game
that is a feature of ARGs?
About that too, in Secret World Legends, and I was telling you about it. If no one had told me that there's certain parts of the game that I actually have to research outside of it, then I probably would have quit it, to be honest. But then it made the game more fun for me because it was like, oh well, I have to do all and because it's Lovecraftian based, it has that lore that if you are really into it, you're going to research more anyway.
Totally.
About it. So but this game doesn't really. It gave you a hint of it, and if I don't know, it's so funny when I'm listening to you talk, because I'm just like, all these things happen in this game, and I didn't experience that at all. I think that there's maybe like a little bit of a hint, or maybe some sort of like riddle that alluded to the fact that when that happened, you do have to research more. Because I don't think without that knowledge, a lot of, at least on my level, I think if you are in a different gamer level, if these games are your thing, whether or not you know it's an ARG or not, you would look it up because you're just like, well, shit, the game just freaking crashed on me. Like, let's Google and see why I did it. But I was so frustrated at that point.
Imagine if you were playing Halo and they're like, yo, in order to get to the next level, you physically gotta go outside. And then, like,
But see, that's what's so cool about it.
Natural curiosity though, because I was curious and I was like, well, crap, like, did it crash? Like, is there like something that I missed, or is that the end of the game? Because when we were playing the bundle from last week, I have to look at my notes. Look at my notes. But there was one game that when you played it and you died, like, that was it. It ended.
Yeah.
And there was no coming back from it. I was like, well, shit. Like, so I had to like go in and play the game again, and go in the file and double click it, and so I was curious. So I did know that you had to like go through but that by that point, I don't know. I just wasn't. I didn't really enjoy the game itself personally, so it wasn't like.
But see, I want to invite you guys to explore it a little further, because I feel like I really.
Now that you've talked about this.
And this goes to my point. It's like someone says, so like, based off of your explanation and based off of all the information that I got now and the stream that you had, yeah, man, I'm gonna go back to that game.
I will for sure. Yeah.
But this is exactly the thing I was saying. It's like someone's sitting there saying, "Oh, you had to read the book for the movie to make sense," and you're like, "What?"
I think it's an experience that's so different than the typical games that I can understand why at first it's very off-putting, but I feel like going down that rabbit hole. I've definitely spent more time reading about ARGs than I have playing them, because a lot of times it can be hard to get into. And I do want to say that, Derivative has a good point here in the chat. He's saying the experience was admittedly cleaner when it came out because people were actively discussing it on Twitter, Reddit, and Discord. And I think that's a really unique phenomenon that is really interesting to talk about. And I would invite everybody, not only you can find so many videos. I remember the first month and a half of Corona, like March to the end of April or so. I went down the rabbit hole of just exploring ARGs like crazy. And there's so many of these games. And I do want to talk about one terminology here just to reinforce this. So there's a lot of unique terminology used in the ARG kind of field, I guess you can say, but this is off Wikipedia, and this term is this is not a game. It says setting the ARG form apart from other games is the this is not a game sentiment popularized by the players themselves. It is the belief that one of the main goals of the ARG is to deny and disguise the fact that it is even a game at all.
So what you're saying is that even if they just had a line that said, "Hey, this is an ARG," then they would have been failing at the ARG.
That's one of the central things. And we will say alternate reality game. Alternate augmented reality is also used. Augmented reality is more so specifically technologically enabled gameplay. Just to clarify that on there.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to get at is that honestly, if based off your explanation, hey, the genre of this game is an ARG game. But by me requesting that, and by them, if they were to even put that in there, then it would defeat the purpose of the ARG genre.
Exactly, because then you're pointing to specific things. It's like, think about the whole idea of being in a mystery and not knowing. Have either of you guys seen that Michael Douglas movie, The Game, before?
Yeah.
And so
don't be fooled by my pretty looks. I am quite old.
I don't know how much. I'm a huge David Fincher fan.
That's a good analogy.
And that is very similar. Or there is a incredible documentary that doesn't get as much love as it deserves, that came out probably 8 years ago or so. It's called The Institute, which is a documentary about a famous ARG in San Francisco, which AMC actually turned into a TV show. Jason Segel, I think is the actor's name. He's also the creator of a show on AMC that explores that. So ARGs have kind of, I guess, are going mainstream or have gone mainstream. A lot of times they're used for viral marketing campaigns as well.
Yes, I've seen that.
And they were famously used in things like Halo 2 had an ARG. Steven Spielberg had some ARG. Our friend Xavier mentions in the chat that we should look up Cicada 3301 as well.
I just did, and I'm scared if my internet provider will not just. It looks like some kind of Illuminati type of I looked it up on Wikipedia, man. I'm gonna really look into this for sure.
Yeah. And I think it's so unique. And so I think that's what worth checking out for everybody is like, you know, when I got to that next game that I was playing and then you see all these like lyrics and you're Googling the lyrics to try to find the hidden word. And then and later on, there's a file, a text file that appears on your desktop with additional information. It just pops up. And so the rabbit hole like continues. It totally freaks you out.
That stuff would give me nightmares, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh god, I downloaded the virus. What did I do?
Yeah, I would definitely encourage everybody to play it. As Derivative said, there's a couple components that are missing right now, I think, towards the end. Like one, for example, is towards the end of the game, like there's a phone number that you're supposed to call that doesn't appear to be active right now. But you call a phone number that gives you Morse code, that gives you a riddle or so to solve. So there was one part where I actually had to have assistance because it's no longer active. But for those in the chat, I'm curious how many of you all have played ARGs or are familiar with the concept or how intriguing that sounds to you, or frustrating for that matter. I totally understand that as well.
So I've played a bunch of ARGs. I just had no idea that they were ARGs.
You didn't know? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's
this one was
because Derivative said
I had no
the
idea.
Blair Witch Project had an ARG. So
there was a website like wasn't there? I'm pretty sure. Yep, Blair Witch, I remember, had one. I want to say there was one around the movie AI as well, that the Steven Spielberg, Stanley
question,
Kubrick.
ARGs, are they usually focused around some kind of mystery, thriller, or horror? Because
typically.
it would make sense that it's,
yeah, exactly. Typically, like, they're conspiracies that you're in, you know what I mean? You get sucked into a conspiracy and you have to, like, you know, then at some point they're like, this is not a game, this is real, you know what I mean? And, like, you start going down the rabbit hole even further. So I think they're really, really cool. I would encourage everybody just to Google and read the Wikipedia article.
That's a question. So I'm not sure if you would know this. Is this an ARG? And I'm not sure. Slender Man?
It's interesting because I think it has components like the community storytelling.
Yeah, because you're not Slender Man. It's like the idea is that it's a game. It's just a real game, but it's a game about people playing a game that is haunted.
Oh, that part. Yeah, because the Slender Man stuff itself is a game, right?
Slender Man itself is like a whole thing. Like it started off as a game, but now there's a whole legend behind Slender Man. A real life in the real world.
Oh yeah, all that creepy stuff. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I want to say that there's a
movie off of it.
Yeah, I want to say there's like some ARGs based on it as well. Shout out to Yoel. Thanks, Yoel, for sharing the stream. Appreciate you so much, man. Yeah, I want to say there's some stuff around it. There's a lot of wild ARGs. I mean, some of them I will say are borderline like disturbing. Like you watch a video of somebody being tortured or something like that, and you're like, oh shit, is this real or not? Or a variety of things. So I encourage you all to, you know, at least check it out. There was a famous one that people might have heard about that came out maybe a couple years ago. What was it called? It was a Twitter. You know, it's interesting you mentioned Slender Man, Tony, because the one I'm thinking about, it's called like The Sun is Dying or something. It's somebody who was like reporting, their Twitter feed was them reporting about how the sun is like disappearing and what they're doing in response.
Really?
Yeah.
This shit, like, it's funny because this
and you can interact with them.
Actually, give me nightmares.
It will give you nightmares
because you're not really sure if it's real or if it's not real.
I think this would have freaked you out if you would have gone any further. You'd been like, I got an email. I kind of want to email like right now. Let's email him and see what he does.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we got a couple comments right here. So let me go through these. Darts of Bubble saying, never really heard of them, but they look really cool. And, what is Derivative saying? Blair Witch Project, the song associated with those lyrics is actually the song playing in the record player. Oh, is it that Blue Sentimental song that was in there? Back when people didn't know it was fake. Nomad on Twitch is saying the biggest theory is that Cicada 3301 is a hacker/programmer recruiting tool. Don't know for who, possibly military. No one knows. none of the winners have spoken out. That's fascinating.
Freaks me out, man.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Oh my God, don't tell Tony these things.
Yeah, I know. It's really creepy stuff. This is perfect for Halloween. Derivative is saying Slender Man itself isn't, but some series have used it. Marble Hornets used hidden messages in multiple mediums to unravel the story. The sun disappeared. Yep, that's the name of the Twitter. And Darts and Bulb is saying, like the original War of the Worlds radio broadcast. I think that's a great example. The famous Orson Welles radio broadcast.
That's a good one. Or like another one is like The Ring. At the end of The Ring movie, they show you the video, so you're not sure if it's real or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
exactly. And there have been some ARGs that are not actually even physical as well. They're kind of like scavenger hunts. Well, no, like physical, like scavenger hunt puzzles where you have to like go visit a different. I mean, there have been major ARGs that have been around for decades where you can look up these up online. Where I remember like an author like decades ago released a book where he like had it was just a big giant mystery, and there was in some location was buried a huge amount of money that you could get. So these are really popular. I would definitely encourage everybody to check them out. I'm super fascinated by them. I'd love to be able to, as I mentioned earlier on in Corona, I was like diving deep into this, and I'd love to be able to develop one of my own someday, for sure. And there's some that are comedic, we should say, some that are very comedic. I know we've spent a lot of time on this game, and there's still mysteries to unpack, but I think it might be worthwhile for those who are watching to maybe unpack some of those mysteries on their own. There is a Google Doc that is floating around in the universe out there that has some of the solutions to these puzzles. I would say try to challenge yourself if you can to try to solve some of it, but if you really get stuck, then there may be a chance that you're at a point in the game where part of the ARG is broken.
And apparently you have the opportunity to possibly get recruited depending on who posted or something.
Depending on the game, yeah. According to Xavier, like I need to look up Cicada.
Solve the puzzle.
301.
I mean, I have some free time because Corona and all, but
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, what do you think? You guys want to jump over because we have 3 more games? Do you guys want to jump over to the next one?
The fact that we spend so much time speaking about this is just so interesting. It's not a genre game that I was aware of.
Yeah.
And honestly, now knowing that what I know now, I'll go.
I'm
back and try
intrigued.
it. Yeah, I'm intrigued now. You know,
that excites me.
I'm not really good with puzzles, so it'll be interesting what I find. how long I make it.
Yeah, they're definitely puzzle focused for sure. But I'm glad to hear that because I think they're definitely a unique genre that I hope will continue to get more and more recognition. Last comment on this before we jump to the next trailer. Derivative saying ARG relies on the scavenger hunt aspect. Unfiction is stories not in reality that don't have the puzzle aspect. That's true. Derivative, I'm curious about that because I believed I saw that The Sun Disappears was considered an ARG to the extent that there was public involvement as well. That might be something I'll research further, but I thought that's what made it just not typically what you'd categorize as, unfiction or a different category. But we'll have to discuss that further for sure. Tony Tiger saying, I feel super woke now. I love it. Legend saying facts. I love it. Awesome. Well, let's get to the next game. We're totally going to switch tone here. Very different style. We had kind of 2 lighter-hearted game, or maybe this might... Well, I don't know if anything was really lighter-hearted. We'll see when we discuss it. But let's discuss speed dating for ghosts. I'm going to throw up the trailer for that right now. This is speed dating for ghosts. So that, everyone, was the trailer for Speed Dating for Ghosts from Copy Chaser Games. I'm about to update the description here on Twitch for people to check that out. And let me put that up here as well in the description at the bottom so you all can see what we're playing. All right, guys, how do you feel about this one? I got a lot of thoughts on it. I would love to hear what you guys think.
I turned him in.
Turned him in?
I did.
Turned who in? Wait.
I think you might have had a different experience, as you saw that there are 10 ghosts,
Wait, what?
and there are different experiences. So I think you might have gone on a different speed date than we did.
Wait, yeah. I did. I always do a happy in these type of story. I always do a happy path, and I do a really I want to choose the bad ending.
Yeah, I know that.
The bad ending. You actually end up going home alone, cooking ramen noodles, cutting up some hot dogs on the stove, and then
in this game, that was
by yourself.
That was one of the bad endings.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Like, you can keep doing and say, like, oh, I don't want to talk to nobody. And then you literally go home. It says you make ramen noodles, you cut up hot dogs. I'm like, oh, man, I remember that. Yo, I remember those days.
I remember those days. I still do it.
And fry you up an egg, put some pepper, some
That's
and
right.
just live your life, man. But yes, that's the if you just keep saying no, I don't care, and just keep going. And then I got the good ending, or I guess I suppose it's a good ending, where I go back with the it's like a football douche guy. I want to call him a fudge boy. So I go back home with the fudge boy, and apparently we match up together, and that's like the happy ending. But essentially, the game is that you're doing speed dates. You're doing 3 people, 2 rounds each. So you do 3 people at once, and then round 2 you do another 3 people, and then the idea is that you're answering questions, and the goal is that at the end of the game you choose a person. Hopefully, if they lined up with you, then you're good. And that's how I end up being with the fudge boy. Like, he liked me, and then I liked him, and then we actually go home and we watch a football game, and he's like. And it's just all about football, and that's about as much as I got in it with it.
See, I didn't have him on my date. That's what I think is so fascinating about this game. I played through it a couple times, and there's 10 different ghosts, and so you always have different combinations, and then based on the dialogue
and the rooms
as well.
too change too.
And the rooms,
some of the rooms are different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I thought that was kind of interesting to me, because when I first started, that's what you think. Oh, well, I can just do this and this and this. Then it was like it was empty, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand.
In the room to me.
How did the rooms? Do you guys know how the rooms played into like the dates themselves, or if that helped determine the type of ghosts that were available?
I think it did.
Okay.
For me, it felt that way. That it determined who it sort of matched you up with, like almost as if the game was sort of like its aesthetic, or like. Yeah, like it was like a certain, I'll just go into this room, and then the 3 people, the 3
ghosts.
The 3 ghosts that pop up were maybe exclusive to just that.
Gotcha. That's interesting. I'd like to explore a little bit further as far as like how the rooms factor in. Derivative, we should say in the chat, is saying don't knock ramen and hot dogs. Got me through college.
Yeah, amen right there, man.
I really enjoyed this game. We should say the creative talent behind this game, if I can read you guys a description here real quick. Speed Dating for Ghosts is a weird little narrative game about speed dating ghosts by Ben Galinas. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, who is involved with quite a few heavy-hitting franchises, including Control, which won many Game of the Year awards last year, Dragon Age, and Mass Effect, and Mikey Ham, who is involved in Mikey Maybe, Slugbuster, and Glick. A lot of interesting stuff right there. I thought that this was... Tony, you gave a great description of it. I thought this was really awesome to just talk through these dates. You're going through dates with people who are also not only dealing with trying to find, I guess, love and romance, but also dealing with the fact that they're now ghosts. which I thought was
it's really
interesting.
Have their own personal gripes about their situation.
Yeah,
Which sort of played into whether or not you wanted to date them or not. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
like, dude, I forgot his name, but the guy, like the punk rocker, the emo dude. I don't know if you guys got him, but he was so depressing. He just there hanging out, and I'm just like,
I
and
think
every
I might
time
have
you
got-
like tried to talk to him at all, it was just like, no, I'm not interested. I don't care. Ooh, and it's like, ugh.
And make no mistake, this is exactly what the title of the game is. Like, you are going through speed dating, and it's pretty interesting. It's not like a joke speed dating. Like, no, legitimately, you're speed dating ghosts. They're talking about stuff how they died and how things that happened in their life, and you're actually speed dating through them. Some might like you, some might not. Yeah,
it's total like dating sim.
Yeah, dating sim. There you go.
Dating sim.
I thought it was,
and I liked the twist to it because,
Yeah.
like you said, when I found out that Control, and I was like, really, you made this one? Okay, like that's different,
very different. And I thought there was a good mix of, I've been, this month marks 17 years I've been with my wife, so I've I don't know the speed dating world. I don't know this environment necessarily.
I've never speed dated. I've never.
It looks like it would be fun. Like, well, I mean, dating is just Tinder, right? That's.
I guess so. I still think there's this stuff around there. I know there's an awesome organization similar to Potions and Pixels in terms of the gaming events in the Triangle area of North Carolina called Triangle Game Night, and they do like speed dating gaming events where you're playing games and like having a quick date. And that's something we actually thought about for a while as well. But I think it's fascinating not only for you to, as you guys said, explore these different personalities, but the whole layer of these people being dead is really fascinating because some of them haven't come to terms with it. Some of them have fully embraced it and love being a ghost.
It brought it brought a different texture to the game itself.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. And them also having how they're interacting with the living world, I guess is the best term, right? Are they haunting people? Are they playing pranks? Are they guiding people? That's what I got from it, that there was a lot of kind of layers to it in that regard. And this is definitely a game that I would say has quite a bit of replayability in terms of the amount of different endings you can get. Now, the game, the gameplay itself is going to be the same overall gameplay. It's still you're choosing dialogue. But I will say, as smartly written as it is, and as much variety as there is, there's quite a bit of replayability here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a game that you can continue playing, and it's a lighthearted theme to it. It has, like I said, it's a dating sim. It was fun. I liked it a lot. It was different because I was going in with this perception that I guess it would be quick. It wouldn't be as intimate, I guess. Just like you said, you're really sort of delving into these ghost stories, are you really going to date this guy? Like, what's going on with this? And a lot of the ghost
your theme has completely changed on this computer. It's loud.
We got a guest here. I love it. I also love the aesthetic to this game, to be honest. Like, I feel like it's a really cool looking game, honestly. Like, using a few bold colors with the black and white simple aesthetic of the ghosts really stands out. I think it had a cool little soundtrack in the background as well. Like,
did I say that?
I was feeling that. We had some good music on this week as well. I guess we'll talk a bit more about that when we talk Grimm's Hollow, especially, I would say. The final game we'll discuss. But I definitely was feeling this. Anybody in the chat, if you have experiences speed dating, would love to hear your thoughts. If you've dated a ghost, we'd love to hear your thoughts. All of the above. We're trying to figure this out here. But this was something that was definitely very interesting. Sorry, guys. Speaking of Legend, you and I are dealing with children issues here. My children are knocking right now. So you guys continue the conversation real quick while I figure out what the hell.
I think a lot of people don't pay attention to the soundtracks now that you bring it up. That would be a good, interesting, that's something that I don't think we've ever really discussed on the show itself is the soundtracks do play a part in the game. I think it's a good, basis for it, because if the music is crappy, what are you going to do? You're going to turn on YouTube and listen to something else. You're not really going to like. You're going to have different background music to it. But I love the color scheme of it too. It was very like it associated well with the characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really liked it. It was really cool how just everything, the aesthetic was really nice. I love how everything sort of looked just like on like a tablet. The graphics are great. The lines were solid.
Yeah.
And like I said, the characters were really good.
Yeah, I think the writing was really solid.
5 minutes sometimes is all you need.
Legend, I think I'm noticing in the background there, do I see some Five Nights at Freddy's plushies there?
Yes, she's obsessed with Foxy as her favorite. Oh, look, honey, look. Mike's wearing a Foxy shirt.
Oh, that's cool.
Wanted to represent something spooky that I had right
obsessed.
Here. Yeah, my son's a huge fan, and my daughter's terrified. So, yeah,
she loves it.
I thought this was really good. Darth Sebulba saying speed dating wasn't really my thing. I like more than 5 minutes to learn about people, as I don't like small talk. Yeah, I guess it kind of caters to. That's an interesting thing to talk about from the dating side of things. Like speed dating, kind of.
I've never done it. I've thought about it. I've thought about doing it because it is. It's like a quick interaction, and you do sort of get a feel for a person when you first meet them. You
see if there's a spark or chemistry immediately.
Yeah, it happens or it doesn't happen. I've never. Yeah, so this game was really cool. I've done the other online dating, but I've never did speed.
That'll be the sequel. Online dating for ghosts.
Now in 2020 is just Tinder. Speed dating and now is just Tinder.
Well, in 2020, it's probably Zoom. You know what? How are people dating right now during COVID? I haven't even. I mean, like that's
a lot of online. I know
a lot of online dating. Yeah.
But like online dating, meaning like this is a date right now.
Like actually signing up to dating sites. Yeah, because there's a bunch of them that are free, but those are kind of murk. Because it's sort of like a pay to play, like it's free at first, and then you have to like.
You're right. So you're a lot of people are just doing FaceTime. They're not even meeting up.
Yeah. A lot of FaceTime, Discord is big. No one uses Skype anymore. No offense, but.
And you gotta fax over their COVID before you meet up. They gotta fax over their COVID papers.
Yeah, right? Seriously. Like, although it depends. Like sometimes when I'm driving around or something, or I'm most of the time here with family, but sometimes you go around different spots on a Friday or Saturday in Charlotte, and you see people just like not even caring whatsoever, and just like masks, no masks, just out and about.
Just out and about. Well, because, they figure they're outside, so of course nothing's gonna, but that's just crazy to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially with just everything going on.
Yeah, for sure. That's a quick way to become a ghost and actually do speed dating as a ghost.
Right, yes. You can try to see if this is for real, right? Yeah, maybe there's an alternate like actual like speed dating for ghosts.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
I mean, if you think about it, they wander around. I'm sure they see each other, right? Yeah. And October's when the veil's the thinnest.
Yeah, I'm wondering as far as Legend with kids. I know, I have two myself. I'm wondering. I mean, there's not going to be trick or treating this year in like the traditional way.
Well,
I think.
Hopefully, in theory, there will not be trick or treating, but that's not guaranteed. Yeah. I can promise you, there will definitely.
Well, the Speedway actually has like a drive-through. Yeah. The Speedway is having like a drive-through sort of socially distancing.
Gotcha.
Thing that I saw. Yeah. But no, it's just not the same. Like I said, dude, just buy all the good candy, keep it at home.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Dude, the day after, they're all like 75% off anyway. So I mean, like,
yeah, exactly. Right? There's some.
I probably still have lollipops from last year's Halloween somewhere.
Exactly. I totally feel you on that. King of the Nerds on Twitch is saying hanging out in Discord and chilling, watching movies.
Yeah, a lot of people are meeting via Discord too, which can be like, hit or miss, but
I guess it gives
Discord voice chat. That's literally like the best way to do it. And I think honestly, like when you video chat with someone, it does become more intimate because you have no choice but to, and I think you can probably build
But it's also kind of
relationships.
hard to like send physical like signals or like play the game, so to speak.
Yeah,
and, like,
but I mean,
I think you're thinking of
if you
OnlyFans.
like someone, you guys are married. If you like someone, like you could just tell. Like you got that.
yeah, no, that's true. Yeah,
vibe,
yeah, Tony,
you
that's
know?
the Potions and Pixels OnlyFans page.
Yeah.
Yeah, which, by the way, I like last week I like researched for like the first time ever. I didn't realize OnlyFans was such a big thing. Like this is
If you
mind-blowing.
content on there isn't even like risque. Like some of it is if you dive bomb into it. But I mean, you could just do like feet pics. People do puppy pics. Like it's just crazy.
I feel so ignorant because I thought OnlyFans, because Drake did an OnlyFans, and I'm talking like, oh, these are like for like entertainers.
Yeah.
So you have a small group of like a book club or like a movie club, like the Harry Potter fan club.
Yeah.
And these guys get to ask these people direct questions.
I thought the same thing when I first heard about it.
But no, OnlyFans is actually like really just it's something else.
It's
a lot of pornography and
But you're not
adult
wrong. There are
entertainment.
entertainers on there.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it was such a. King of the Nerd saying I thought about making one for my cat.
People do though. It's crazy. And like nowadays, it's like it's funny because if you've got like it. People use that thing for everything. I know a lot of people, when unlike you guys, but the rest of us know about it.
Is it an app or is it like a web page or something?
It's an app and a web page. Yeah, you can download it and you can scroll.
I just don't.
A lot of content creators do it. A lot of content creators, a lot of streamers do. Yeah, I mean, of course, women get a lot of slack for it.
That the rapper actually had his genitalia leak, so I'm like,
oh man.
People think too, but it isn't just that. Like, it can just be beautiful photography.
Yeah.
It doesn't. A lot of it, people think, and they twist it. They twist it, and it can be if you go down that road.
Well, in fairness, though, from my understanding, it is or a significant amount of it is like sex work. Like,
yes.
So I totally hear you that it's now kind of being explored for different purposes, and it makes sense. Tony, what you were saying first, when I heard that too, I was like, OnlyFans, I could ask a game developer, I can a question.
You guys just got the fans.
Yeah, exactly.
Was that the purpose? Because people can sit there and say the same thing about Snapchat. Was Snapchat really for dick pics? Like, was that really what it was for?
Yeah.
It was until people realized that you can still screenshot. So that stuff never really goes away. Yeah.
That's an alternate reality game.
All people too. Like you can see, like when you take a picture, you can tell it says like this person took a screenshot, and you're like, shit.
That is.
Not that that's ever happened to me, of course. I'm just saying.
That is some wild stuff there. King of the Nerds is saying, I would say it's half and half.
Education. Yeah. Education for sure.
That is some wild stuff there. So we still got 2 more games. Are you guys down to jump over to Babysitter Bloodbath?
Yes.
I liked that game. You guys thought it was. I liked the clunking movement. I think.
Well, let's show the trailer.
After the trailer.
Yeah, let me pull that trailer up right now. We are about to watch the trailer for Babysitter Bloodbath from Puppet Combo. that, everyone, was the trailer for Babysitter Bloodbath from developers Puppet Combo, which we should also give a shout out to our friend the Mage, frequent watcher of the show, for recommending this last week.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, Tony, can you go into that?
Last week we were talking about the PlayStation demo, and I was like, "Oh man, this is like a really cool concept." Horror games. I wish that I knew more of them. And Mage actually said, "Hey, you should check out Puppet Combo." And actually, I looked up the developer website, looked up the games they had. It seemed like a lot of the games were hard copies, but then I found the soft copy of the game. Yeah, they
do
still
they have
hard copy games.
Interesting. I didn't know
that. But then they actually had Bloodbath. Or the Babysitter Bloodbath in the Adjusting Con, and so Mike was like, "Hey, if you guys have any recommendations of games we should do," I'm like, "Yo, we should definitely do this."
Yeah,
because I specifically wanted to play a Puppet Combo game.
Yeah,
and this is specifically because Mage recommended it. So guys in the stream, not only are we're chatting you too, we're corresponding with you in the chat.
Yes.
But we actually listen to some of the things that you guys are saying, and we do take it into consideration for sure.
For sure. Yeah, and this one, it should also be mentioned. Derivative. Yeah, Derivative brought some good knowledge up here by saying in the chat that the game is a little rough around the edges, but it was Puppet Combo's first release, which I think is good to know, to be honest, because I think that so it sounds like, from what we understand, Puppet Combo specializes in these kind of 80s kind of nostalgic games that really try to hone in on certain tropes. I know that Tony and Legend wanted to discuss that further. Just to give a quick description here for everybody who's watching, it's very similar in terms of, I guess, to our conversation last week, where we're talking about games that are embracing an aesthetic that was very popular in the mid to late 90s, especially. This is the PlayStation 1, Sega Saturn, N64 era. The game is most analogous to a game like Resident Evil, where you have tank controls, you have fixed camera angles in rooms, or almost completely fixed, in some cases a slight tilt, but those are still fixed. It also has an inventory management system and a save management system similar to Resident Evil. In the game, it says plays in about half an hour. I had some trouble with this, I'm going to say, in terms of me being able to beat it or not beat it. But I have a lot of thoughts about this, but I know Legend and Tony, you do too.
Yeah, Tony and I ended up kind of like in the same spot when we were kind of outside in the yard area. That's where we sort of ended off. But I didn't like the perspective of it. But once I got used to it, because again, last week's games were sort of helped me understand what we were playing a little bit better, I think. So it was a little easier for me to man the controls. Time than it was with the others, that had a better understanding to it. I liked it. I liked the clunky feel to it. I liked because you're right, it's again in that very nostalgic game. It's very stick to just that familiarized era. The dark graphics I thought was great, because again, like, I'm always like, what is going on? So of course I spooked myself.
Yeah.
So I spooked myself quite a lot. But it was funny when you started, because it was like, oh, come click this. Do you like, yes? And it's like, Billy, good to see you. Like, how's it going?
Yeah.
Like, the whole storyline of it was really...
Well, what did you like? Can you tell me a little bit more, Legend, as far as, like, you said you kind of liked the clunky controls. I'm curious, like, how did that add to the experience? Because historically, one of the diehard advocates of tank controls, especially in horror games, argue that it's similar to horror movies, where you see people like falling over when they're being chased and everything, because it's hard to control, and in real life, it's hard to control.
I experience in the game a lot better. For me anyway, I enjoyed that clunky, because it's sort of like you're in, you're kind of peeping, the angles are kind of like where you're sort of looking, and then you have to like kind of like the way it's just weird, because it just seemed like when she was walking, it was like boom, 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 all these heavy steps. It's like shh.
Exactly. And the little hyper kid like teleporting around the house.
Yeah, I just like, and it was the graphics, I'm not used to playing games that are like this, like I told you guys, last week, what I've said, even on my own streams, is that I've never played those type of games before. So this is a whole new experience for me. So last week, like I said, sort of gave me sort of the push. So this was easier for me to play mechanical wise.
Interesting.
But it did sort of level up my experience because it was just sort of okay, girl, you gotta move, we gotta go this way, and it's very sort of methodical in how you gotta move it. So that fluid movement you would get from a controller or from more of a basic horror game, I guess you would say. But I just liked how it just leveled up the experience for me, especially because, like I said, I'm not used to playing games like this at all.
And it's been fun hearing you kind of this last week and this week, go down this genre exploration.
I'm experiencing.
Yeah, that's really fascinating.
It's been fun for me,
for sure. Tony,
all this fresh.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll double back. So essentially, the game is it's a. He mentioned tank controls. Think of Resident Evil, the original Resident Evil. When you're looking at gameplay wise, you're in a house, you're babysitting a kid. The two parents go out to dinner.
Classic tropes, for sure.
It's the 90s. and so the whole thing is that later on in the story, you end up inviting your boyfriend over because of tropes. Inviting your boyfriend over. This boyfriend ends up getting killed by a mental health patient who escaped the hospital.
Yeah.
And so now you're in a survival horror mode of trying to survive and screw the kid. I guess protect the kid.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't really feel for the kid too much. He seemed a little bit annoying, so I didn't really care.
Oh, man.
Can the kid die? No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But what I will say, let's talk about some of these tropes because it's really funny. So
you're
in the mansion. You're in not a mansion. It's just a
large suburban house.
Suburban house. All the freaking closets are walk-in closets.
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
And then get this, the TV, the kid's running around the entire time because the TV. He doesn't know how to turn on the TV. The TV knob is broke. Remember back in the day they used to have TV knobs? The TV knob is broke, so you have to go find the remote that's in his bedroom. Because that's where the TV remote would be. And then you turn on the TV. Of course, this kid doesn't want to eat dinner. He wants to eat cereal and milk. And then so there's a lot of... And here's one of the weirdest things, too. So inside the house, I would say about 25 to 30% of the rooms happen to be locked. This is a pretty decent size house with a lot of rooms. But a lot of the rooms are locked. For some reason, the parents have a walk-in closet that leads directly into the kid's bedroom.
Yeah,
exactly. So they share a closet.
That's creepy, right?
Is that in home design? Is that something that happened back in the day?
I'm not sure if I've seen that. Yeah.
Oh, and then going back to the Resident Evil, the Resident Evil thing, there is inventory management, so you do have to manage inventory. You have I think 6 slots. You actually go to a safe to put items in there to retrieve items out. There's a save mechanic very similar to Resident Evil. You have a VHS tape that you have to go to a VCR and you have to save, and they go off of VHS tapes. They're very similar to the ink ribbon in the typewriter.
That's right.
But definitely, this is the 32-bit graphics. A lot of old slasher horror tropes. I'm talking Scream and Friday the 13th, straight out of those books. But overall, I enjoyed it, man. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed it. Me and Legend got to the same area, essentially, where you go outside, the guy kills your boyfriend, and then now you have to run. And unfortunately, I didn't run, so because of the tank controls, I couldn't run very well.
It was I was drunk, right? You're just kind of whoa.
Yeah.
You turn around in circles, and
we got running for your life too, so that doesn't make it any better because you're just go faster.
Exactly, and it gets really tense.
Okay.
Yeah, we got several cool comments in here to bring in. One that I think is hilarious from our friend Nomad on Twitch, who says, "How can they afford a babysitter and go out but have no food in the fridge?"
Right?
They had no food.
Doors in your house.
no,
why does your closet
Yeah.
lead to your kids' room? Like, why does your closet?
Here's a trope.
Yeah.
So they keep all the lick, right? They keep all the liquor.
Yeah.
And an office in your office up on the top floor.
Yeah.
And of course, like every '90s movie, it's locked, right?
Mhm.
And the only person who knows how to unlock it, of course, is the kid.
Yeah.
He knows how to unlock the liquor cabinet. So
Yeah.
you go, you get the liquor, and then you hang out with your boyfriend and you drink. So that's very funny.
No,
I
for
just thought it
sure.
was weird. Like, you're asking the kid for, hey, you know?
open up the
Yeah, it felt
Can you-
they were
can you
very
look me up?
much going for that 80s like style. And that they really captured really well. They captured it with that whole VHS aesthetic. They really did a good job capturing movies of that time. And if you check out Puppet Combo's work and you just Google Babysitter Bloodbath, you can see they even do like these amazing covers for their games.
Oh, yeah.
that- like fantastic, like fantastic
Oh, yeah.
production values for that.
They went all in.
They went all in, and so kudos to them for that. So yeah, you guys know already. I guess Legend and Tony have already alluded to the fact that I have had some issues, but I'm definitely going to jump into that. But I do want to give credit where credit is due, and overall I did enjoy it, and especially I think those touches. A couple comments before I jump into my own right here. Derivative is saying something similar to what I said earlier. Tank controls have a way of ramping up the tension in early horror games by requiring your movement to be more thought out. Excellent point.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that. Also, he says that the game was originally intended to be an interpretation of the movie Halloween, but they made changes to avoid legal problems. Totally can see that
The
as well.
music is exactly the same.
Yeah.
The music is nearly the same.
Yeah. In fact, I loved the music in terms of like those like scary like moments where you discover your boyfriend's body, or I absolutely loved when you first encounter the killer and it shows multiple screens of different camera angles.
Yeah.
That was excellent. That was excellent. And in fact, I would have liked to have seen that not only more in this game, but more in other games, because I think that whole cinematic approach of showing multiple perspectives, especially for a fixed camera game. I don't know if you guys can correct me here, but I don't remember that for fixed camera angle horror games. I don't remember that being used often.
Nah, they didn't do that. No.
And you know, the games of past. So I'm very curious about
Games of lore.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Games of I caught myself saying that right there. Yeah, I'm very curious.
Oh, and just a heads up.
Yeah.
So Xavier Nomad, he said, "How can they afford a babysitter but they can't?" They had food in the fridge.
Oh, dude, it was like nothing.
If everyone can remember at the beginning of the game, they pretty much said, "Do whatever that badass kid tells you to do."
That's true.
They're like,
That's
do
true.
whatever he says to do, whatever he wants, give it to him, and then you end up giving him like cereal milk. But there is food in the fridge, but you pretty much have to do whatever that boy says.
Yeah, you're
You're
babysitting.
limited in what you can do with it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're babysitting Kevin McAllister from Home Alone, essentially.
Yes,
or Dennis the Menace.
Yeah.
All right, so here's what I want to say about this. I'm going to echo a few things that I said last week, where I think mood plays a role. I don't know what's going on, but I wasn't like in the best of moods when I was playing it. Also, you know that feeling when you're playing a game and you like have something in mind, like the remote control. Immediately when they said to find that remote control, I went to his room and like looked around for it, and I couldn't find it. And then I went and so I looked everywhere around the house, only to be like, let me go back to his room, and then I realized
It's on the floor.
I know, and it's like a giant ass remote control.
That's the biggest trope.
I know.
The TV doesn't work. So who has the remote? Of course, the badass kid has the remote, and he hid it in his room on the floor next to his toys.
So if you watch the stream, you probably will be frustrated. I need to rewatch my stream because I'd probably be frustrated watching it myself, because not only did I have trouble like completing some base, for some reason I was playing the game assuming I should be doing something else when I should have been doing this. It's like you guys when you were talking about the no players online, your experience.
Yeah.
I kind of had this here where I was like looking for other things, like exploring the whole house, trying to check everything first, only to realize that I just needed to like remote, cereal, boyfriend, liquor, like do this combination of things that I just wasn't like mentally like thinking about. I like the fixed camera angles in theory and practice. It's a little nauseating, like moving from room to room and having these quick jumps and like having to recalibrate your movement, especially with the fact that even after playing that game for some time, I still had trouble navigating the house. I had a lot of trouble navigating the house.
100%. It took me like 30 to 45 minutes just to understand the floor plan of, like, how do I even get to this? I didn't even know the stairs was there to get to the second floor. So,
or I would run accidentally up the stairs. Like, I had trouble with that all the time. Anytime it was like, oh, go to the kitchen, I would explore every other room except the kitchen.
I get lost really easy, so I was just like, inch by inch going back. Forward,
It's, the entire game takes place in a 2-story house that probably has a max of 10 rooms, including the kitchen and the living room. But I'm not going to lie, those 10 rooms, you'll be sitting there revisiting them over and over again. Not because you need to, but because you're so disoriented.
And some big hallway space.
Here, like, is there something in here that I need to do? Like, what's next? Because there is such sort of like there was a bit of a delay, right, between like your character and the action that you're really supposed to be doing. With your interaction with the killer and him coming in. I get that it's supposed to be suspenseful. You're just kind of like, oh, what if he's in this room and then poop, and he's not. But I think the length of time it is for you to just sort of get through the process of the game itself, could have been a little, like, could have been trimmed down a little bit.
And everyone, I just want to let everyone know this is all gripes that had to deal with the 32-bit, era games. Like the tank controls. Metal Gear Solid was the same. Like, the whole tank control.
Was it? I think it was fixed camera.
It was fixed camera. It wasn't tank controls. I think it was fixed camera. But the thing is that, like, these are... So if you played games like Resident Evil and probably Silent Hill, I'm thinking... with fixed camera angles and stuff like that.
Alone in the Dark.
Then Alone in the Dark. Then This Is Right at Home with You, or this probably wouldn't be that jarring. But definitely, those are all things that not necessarily with the game. That was them being too true to nature, to the 30.
Yeah, and they nailed. Yeah, you're right about that. They nailed it. They nailed the tropes of the era, as you guys have said. Yeah. They nailed the feeling, the aesthetic, the gameplay. I just I guess I'm echoing the same sentiments I said last week, where I feel that there's still an opportunity to update the gameplay. And that might have not been their objective, And for this specific case, they might be appealing to specific fans because this is their thing. They focus on horror games. So they may be appealing specifically to fans who want that retro feel. And it's captured perfectly. I'll give an example of like where it gets especially frustrating is like navigating around the killer. Like once the killer is in the picture... It is hard as hell. Yeah, I mean, it's hard as hell.
Because you want to bob and weave, but you can't because it's like clunk, clunk, clunk.
Yeah, exactly. So you're just like running around. Like,
that's exactly
the whole thing.
I did like 3 about faces.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, the guy...
I was yelling. I was like, just
it was.
Do it.
But go.
And I found myself kind of like going, like when you have the controller, like if I move, maybe she'll duck too.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, going to back with what Mike said about, the idea that this is an old gameplay, but you could innovate and do new 2020 or 2020 type of aspects to it.
Yeah.
A good example of that is Shovel Knight, right? Shovel Knight versus Mega Man, right?
Yes.
You can take something, old concepts of games, an old, type of game, and then update it with small mechanics that would help make it more playable.
Yeah. I think it would appeal more to like today's audience.
Yeah.
Unless you're specifically a retro gamer and you're like a hard retro gamer.
Yeah.
Then this is something that would be perfect for you. But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do a 32-bit game in the year 2020, I really think that you need to appeal more because you're losing such a big audience
Yeah.
I think when you don't have those little things, you know, those little
Pretty
things
much-
make such a big difference.
Pretty much anybody younger than 30, pretty much everyone younger than 30 is like,
Yeah,
But see that-
for someone like me, especially, you know, I've never played any of these games. Like, I'm just fish, you know. I'm
But see,
fishing
that's
the
what's
water with this
fascinating,
stuff,
and
you
you
know?
really enjoyed it though, because I think part of it
Yeah.
is that I think you embrace the whole like it's a retro feel to you. It's not as much nostalgia; it's just retro, right?
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. I do kind of use the word nostalgia wrong in this sense, but yeah, you're right. It's that retro. I've seen this gameplay, you know, so I'm familiar with it in that sense.
Yeah.
But to have it experienced like firsthand, you know, playing these games, just opened my eyes and sort of put things in a different perspective.
Yeah.
For me, you know, because I'm playing a 32-bit game 2020 here. You know, I'm used to all this.
Yeah, and we should say the game is fairly short too.
You know?
So for those who want to go back and revisit
I
this
died,
era,
so of course it was very short. So like, what else happened?
yeah, I died very like early on, and then I replayed it some more and died again very quickly. And I will say that's where the save function is frustrating too.
I liked it. I love that. I like it.
I like that for other games, not for something that's supposed to be so short to begin with. That I don't feel like there is a need. Like, why is there a need to like do a manual save system where it's based on having VHS tapes for a game that's supposed to be around half an hour? That's
okay,
my.
I see
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm totally. I love the idea. Like, you know, Alien Isolation. Yeah, like Alien Isolation is a good example. If you guys saw it, that was like a survival horror game, and
I got lost and I quit.
in Alien Isolation. Well, I mention it because it has a unique save mechanic in that you have to manually save, and while you're saving, the alien can kill you. So while you're saving the game, you can literally tilt the camera and like look around because the alien will kill you while you're saving. And so I do like that idea of in survival horror games where saving itself is a commodity because it really makes you like value your life. I don't want to die because then I have to go back half an hour and replay parts of games. But for a game that's already so short, like essentially if you're playing this game or you haven't played this game, try to do all the tasks up until like a certain point, save the game right before the killer's there, and so if you die, you can just do that part over and over again. Because I don't want to feed the damn kid cereal or, you know, the boyfriend that's trying to make out with you get like I don't need to do that part over again, right?
You want to pass that stuff.
Yeah, that doesn't help at all.
Exactly,
so I'm totally cool with like the killer part, but then the killer part to me devolves a little bit into like just running into different rooms, and then you know the final the attempt to kill him, which I couldn't do effectively. I feel like I could if I sat there long enough, but you're just kind of like running around trying to take a few shots on him and then run away, take a few shots, and just constantly do that.
Yeah, that was a little annoying. Again, that's where like the 2020 like little just that little bit would have helped, because it was really annoying how you couldn't, and then because of like the fixed camera angle too, you couldn't really like
you're like aiming your gun here and you're just like, oh god, I'm over here now.
You're just I like to just shoot randomly, you know. I'm not one to really take aim. I just kind of fire, you know.
What the heck? You get a pistol?
Yeah.
In the game? You get where would you find a pistol in a house?
Where was the
kid knew.
Yeah, the kid. It was in the kid's cereal. It was in the cereal box. It was the little toy you get out of it.
Yeah, he really has it in. I mean, with those parents, who knows, right? Probably just laying on the counter.
Yeah,
it was right next to the liquor.
Yeah, exactly. the liquor and their gun were both the kids' room with the remote.
That was perfect. I was like, oh, you see, for me, that was like, oh, yeah, the gun would be here.
Yeah. I actually don't remember, to be honest. I got a walkthrough for that part, like for the gun. I knew that you know, when you see the car that doesn't have gas, I knew that I would need some gasoline there. I forgot how I got the gun. I used the, you know, I saw like a checklist of like, go here for this at that point. But yeah, once you do that, then it's kind of like the basic stuff. But like the music, when you see the killer, essentially the Michael Myers killer, when it does that old
it's
like sound,
yeah.
it's awesome.
Sure.
It's awesome. It's really cool. So I love the vibe. What do you guys think? Would you guys be down for some more puppet combo stuff potentially in the future?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would. I've enjoyed. I mean, you know, I like this because it's hit or miss.
Yeah.
You know, I see where they're trying to go with their aesthetic, but I think, like I said, I think they're losing a bunch of their audience by just not doing these little things. So I think playing more of their games would maybe reel me in a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm very curious for sure. Well, are you guys down to go to our final game of the night, or did you guys want?
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay, cool.
Lavender.
So that right there, as a recap, folks, was Babysitter Bloodbath from Puppet Combo. Definitely would love to hear your thoughts about these in the audience. If you get a chance to play them in the future, feel free to send a message or post and tag us so we can hear what you think about it. The last game that we will be discussing today is a game called Grimm's Hollow, which we should say is available for free on
on
Steam and itch. Definitely make sure to check that out. So this is an RPG. This is Grimm's Hollow. So that, everyone, was Grimm's Hollow. We should say from Ghost Hunter. The game is available for free, as you saw there. To give a quick description, as can be found on the itch page, when Lavender's the main character that you play, when Lavender woke up this morning, she wasn't expecting to be surrounded by a crowd of overexcited skull-masked strangers with cake and balloons. After all, it wasn't her birthday, and this wasn't her home. She devises a plan to find her brother and escape from the outlandish townspeople of the Hollow, but is she prepared for the grave consequences? This, as you all could probably see, is an RPG that takes about 2.5 hours or so to complete. It has a couple different endings there. Legend of the Star actually saying there are 4 alternate endings. That's awesome. We'll discuss those. I know a lot of people immediately off the bat say a strong comparison to Undertale with kind of the simplified aesthetic with minimal colors. We should also say on Steam, the ratings for it, if you're familiar with Steam's review system, it is overwhelmingly positive across the board. So this game is moving up the charts. So guests, what do you guys think about this game? I got a lot to say about it.
I liked it. It was so cute and adorable. And after playing Babysitter's Bloodbath, it was like the perfect way to kind of like end the scene.
Yeah.
The story was just so cute. And I liked how you had a choice when you first load up the game. Now, when you first load up the game, it's teeny. It isn't automatically full screen. So you do have to kind of like, at least, you do have to finagle. So if you control F4, it'll full screen it for you right away.
Yeah, it's an RPG Maker game, which I know a lot of those have a lot of that issue.
Yeah, have that thing, which I didn't know. But then Undertale has that glitch, and that's how I learned because my kids told me.
Yeah.
Kids told me how to do it. But it was just cute. I liked, I'm gonna save my little brother and go and the jokes are actually kind of funny.
It's well written.
Yeah, it's very well written. I loved the interaction. And like I said, when you first start playing the game, you have a choice of either playing it casual or, like, I guess going normal. So you can just play sort of like the story mode game of it with, like, not as many interactions.
Yeah. How did you all choose to play it?
Battles. Yeah, and then you can choose again to play it and have it be a little harder for you. Or
did you all play?
Feel more intense.
So you, Tony, it sounds like you went with the combat, the normal route. What about you, Legend? Did you?
I went casual because I like story mode.
I'm curious because I went normal as well.
And that's usually how I would play a game like this first. Dive into the story first, and then get a feel for the fighting scene, so to speak. But it's like turn based. It wasn't bad. Yeah,
so I'm curious. I didn't try the casual mode that as you said is more story focused. How does it handle combat? Because we should say combat is a pretty big part of this in some ways.
It is a pretty big part of it. It was easier.
Okay, so it still was there.
Yeah, it was smoother. It was easier. It wasn't. I mean, obviously there was a little bit of a challenge here. You're not going to skate through the battles. You do have to sort of like pick your modes pretty well, like you would with most. But it was nice because it was quick. It wasn't super intense, so I wasn't dying all the time. It wasn't like a. I didn't lose. I didn't lose too much, thankfully.
I lost a bit early on, and then I tried to level up my character once I understood the leveling kind of system.
The leveling is a little tricky because you gotta go,
and
then you've got the cookies that you have to have from the baker.
Yeah, cookies and donuts and all that.
Yeah, I liked it, and the colors were really nice. It was subtle but bright at the same time.
They did a good job with world building. They did do a good job.
It was so cute, and they both had the little swirlies on their cheeks.
Swirl around there.
Yeah, which one of the Grimm Reapers actually noticed. It was like, oh, so it does run in the family.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a bit more about the story there. I know, Tony, you haven't got a chance to finish yet, so I'm a little hesitant to actually fully go into the endings.
I'm going to play it regardless. I'll tell people I played about 30 minutes into it. Because I was trying to figure out what to do in no player's name or whatever. No players online.
Yeah.
But I mean, I looked at this game and I was like, man, I really want to play this. I played about 30 minutes of it, and it's a beautiful RPG, beautiful art style, amazing story. It's a 2-button RPG. The idea is that there's 2 major buttons. You have an inventory, and it's a real-time action too. So in these actual battles, it's not just picking hey, I just want to do 1 of 4 actions. Instead, you'll have an action to do, but then there'll be a quick time or a real time event, such as push this button while while the beam is in this particular gauge, and you get maximum hits. I'm not sure what type of that's called. It's called
it's
active real-time battles. I don't know.
I'm kind of trying to remember the term there, because it is a turn-based system, but it has that system that you've seen in Paper Mario and so many games of that variety, where you see kind of an active battle. Is it like an active battle system?
Active battle.
You have to make sure that you did it just right, or it wouldn't.
Yeah, you did more damage if you nailed it. So if you're watching the trailer right there, you can kind of notice in the combat you're trying to get your you're trying to center your attack in this meter. You're trying to defend against certain attacks. For the most part, I think that works actually quite well. If you watching this to find that intimidating, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I think it's works out quite well. I think this game did a great job with the world building for a short game. Again, 2.5 hours. It is paced well. It is a well-paced game. You feel like you are playing a full RPG where you're leveling up, and the leveling up system is rather unique. So just to give a little background story without going in full detail, because obviously we're spoiler heavy for shows like this because we want to discuss it. So if we want to go even and discuss the endings themselves, I'm totally down for that. But just to give you guys a base level, for those watching, a base level understanding of this, is you're waking up and you're quickly finding, as you see there, that you are dead. That's immediately like apparent, and that once people die, it sounds like a certain amount of people or certain types of people who don't immediately go to the afterlife kind of are trapped in this kind of limbo. It's not necessarily, I wouldn't describe it as a purgatory if you're familiar with that concept. It's
they just aren't ready to move on, is what the gist of it is. And if they're there too long, then they become hostile, so you have to reap them, so to speak. Yeah. Exactly.
So there's like two types of kind of major creatures of existence in this world. There's the Reapers and the Ghosts. Now, the Ghosts themselves come in a wide varieties, but as you can see, the Skull people are Reapers, and you can see the larger one is the Grimm Reaper. And so you're essentially like a little Reaper, and you are going around reaping these ghosts. And the goal of the game, there's a couple goals. One is you are trying to find your brother, because you wake up not knowing how you got into this world. And so you're trying to find your brother Timmy. And then the other goal that you hear about, which is a goal of everybody in this world, is to move on to the afterlife. And so for ghosts to essentially move on to the afterlife, they kind of need to be reaped, I guess, is my understanding. Like, they don't want to be reaped, right? Is that the idea?
Yeah, they don't want to, but that's kind of like that's the only way that you can do it.
Yeah, so it's kind of a bizarre kind of relationship where the Reapers are reaping the ghosts, but they don't it's not like they take pleasure in it. It's never indicated that they're enjoying killing them. It's kind of like their role. They reap the ghosts in order to kind of send them off.
They either help them to move along, or they just get rid of them because they're hostile and they're just going to become evil. And from like the basics of the game, like the area that everyone is in where the Reapers live is pretty peaceful for the most part. Like, it's just, they're just kind of like doing their thing. Now when you do catch up with Timmy, it's so hard because there's 4 different, I don't want to give away too much, but
I think as long as Tony's okay with it, and
I'm fine. I'm gonna play it anyway. I mean,
Legend, whatever you're comfortable with.
You do. It was just so sweet because she woke up. That's the first thing that she was wondering about was her brother and where he is, and making sure. And her whole purpose is just to make sure that he goes back home to the living.
Yeah.
She's fine if she has to say that's not. Whatever, but
that was interesting, wasn't it?
Sure
that was very interesting that
really
Lavender doesn't like Lavender, the main character that you play, never is really isn't even immediately sad about.
No, and she's not really curious about how she died either. She's just like, okay, I'm dead right now. Let's go save my brother.
She doesn't even know why she's dead, and it sounds like that's fairly common for people who kind of die and enter this kind of this world. But yeah, she's fully focused on her brother, and where it gets interesting, and Tony, you're probably right at this point if you haven't seen it already, is that when she does find her brother's a ghost, and so she's supposed to reap her brother technically, because as I mentioned, the other goal for the Reapers is if they reap enough and they level up all their stats essentially, then they can move on to the afterlife. And so they're kind of serving their time reaping ghosts until they level up. And so Lavender essentially has to hide her in her pocket, her brother Timmy, and not let any of the other Reapers or Grimm know about that.
No.
Well, yeah, I think you're right there.
But then there's a misunderstanding because one of them was like, yo, why do you have that ghost? Like, you're supposed to be reaping him. And she's like, well, I can't. But before she can really explain what's going on or who the ghost is, the dude just knocks her out. And I guess it was gonna help himself to. Oh, that sounds bad. I guess I shouldn't say that. But he was gonna just take Timmy's soul, basically. Because that's hello. That's his job. That's what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, and that's something you discover in the game, that there are potentially the only way for people to kind of re-enter the world of the living are those who somehow and this isn't fully explained, but essentially people who I don't want to say accidentally, but they landed in this world and they still have their soul. And essentially what it's saying is those people whose time isn't up yet, I think is the best way of doing it. So like
Purgatory.
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of like that whole idea where you see people who like see the light at the end of the tunnel and somehow escape it, right? And so this is kind of those people that have those like near death experiences, or those people who I guess report being dead for some time and coming out of it. That I guess would be the closest analogy.
Right? Yeah, that'd be the best way to explain it. Honestly.
You know what I mean? And so that is something where you quickly find out that again, this whole thing is 2 hours, so it's pretty breezy, but you quickly find out
but
that...
it does get you in the feels, though.
Yeah, it does.
It does have sort of like this really intimate storyline. It's kind of like how Mortician's Tale was.
Yeah.
You know, it was, you think it's just like this easy breezy, you know, you have to do this action to, you know, to help these people, you know, sort of move on, to make sure that their loved one's taken care of.
Yeah.
And it had such an in-depth storyline because it really dove into the character itself without really... giving away too much personal information about the game.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the interesting thing about that, if there's one thing I could say about this game, is it packs a full RPG in 2 to 3 hours.
Such a short amount of time.
It's impressive. Even the combat system. I actually think the combat system is even more robust than the time itself, because I'll say for the most part I could get by with just like a few type of attacks. At the end of the game I was able to max everything out, and that's one of the ways I think you get like you know, one of the endings, or a set of the endings I guess, is by being able to maximize all your stats so you can cross over into the afterlife. But I was impressed with how many options there were on the combat side, the variety of enemies. This was really good.
And that inner monologue, right?
Yeah.
She has like moments of just she's got that inner monologue, that inner, so you really you can sympathize with Lavender, you know. It kind of puts you on this whole another level, you know. It made me a little misty-eyed, like a few scenes where you were just like, aw, you know.
I want to read more about it, to be honest. Like, I want to delve into some more stuff, because I still have a few questions, and part of that I think is answered in the game itself that I just might have missed here or there, like about, like, you know, Tony, we were talking lore and world building earlier before we started this call. Like, there's a lot of lore that I want to kind of understand about, you know, the Reapers over time. If as they're kind of in that world, their face kind of like falls apart, they lose their eyes, they kind of become more monstrous. The ghosts, as legend said, will over time turn from sweet little ghosts that have just entered that world into like a monstrous ghost. But even then, towards the end, some of the ghosts you're killing, or reaping I should say, some of them seemed like you were killing like this love ghost or other ghosts. It made you question in terms of like, you know, I don't know, I have some questions about the nature of the ghosts themselves.
Yeah, it seemed like they had their own. It could have really dove deeper into it, to be honest. Like, it just seemed like the ghosts had their own, much like speed dating.
Yeah.
They had their own sort of like personalities, their own sort of like stories that they had, and you kind of have to make this choice. Well, is this, you know, I gotta do it. You know, I have to repeat. Like, this is the only way that I could do it. And one of the parts that I have, one part of the game is very I guess very inner monologue, and you sort of get to dive deeper into like the baker, you know, and get an understanding of their role in that place, and the Grim Reaper himself, or themselves, or whatever they identify as. It's just sort of like a, I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to give too much away, but you dive into like that character more. Like, I just really liked it, the way that she just kind of like, and everything was purple, and then she grows to sort of hate the color purple, you know, because that's all that it is, and it reminds her of, you know, what she's lost and then what she's going to become.
Not to mention her name, so Lavender.
Yeah, and she's got to, you know, sort of deal with that herself. It was really, I was pleasantly surprised, because when I first found the game on Steam, I did not think that it would be like, you think, oh, okay, she's got to go find her brother and she has to like reap souls and but you don't realize until you start playing the game that it's so story. It really is story based. It really is story based, and it has such depth to it. Again, in such a short amount of time, they packed all this stuff in this game.
Impressive.
I was very impressed.
The pacing is on point for sure. I mean, Tony, listening to this conversation, do you got any questions like that you have for the game or for us, or you're wondering about the experience?
No. So I definitely, I played like 30 minutes. And I'm like, man, this is an awesome game.
Yeah.
I remember a while back we were talking about in a private convo about horror RPGs. Is there any that exist? A horror style RPG. And this I mean, it's not horror. It's very cute, but it does have that type of feel to it. I think there's like 3 games like in that I really love that I definitely am playing again. Is what's that mage game?
Micro Mages.
Micro Mages. Yeah. Babysitter. The Babysitter Bloodbath, and then this game are the 3 games that I actually have on rotation. Because every week we come on here to Indie Game Club and we do spend amount of time playing these games. But also, believe it or not, we're gamers. We like to play other games too.
More than one ending. I was pleasantly surprised by that. I looked that up because I was intrigued. I pulled a mic and I dove a little deeper into it, and I liked how. I just love it. I love replayability is so important, I think, in games, because I don't like having to spending time. I don't like spending money on something that is it's not going to be worth it. You know what I mean? And it was just so well done. Yeah. I was so pleasantly impressed.
Yeah, for adults.
I don't like that one hitter. Like,
yeah.
The fact that it had replayability is just icing on the cake for me. It really, really is.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love what you said. I mean, for me, to be honest, like I think back to when I was, I guess, high school or maybe even a little later than that, when I had more time to I love the idea of a long, 80-hour RPG or whatever like that. And then as I get older, with children and have all these other responsibilities, I'm actually more and more attracted. I've been attracted to this for a long time, but even more so to games where they explicitly are like, this game will be 2 hours. And to me, I'm like, great. There's no filler content. We're going straight into the core content that is needed to make this game what it is. And I feel like this this is it. Like if that sounds intriguing to you, if you're watching this live or at a latter date, this is definitely an RPG that you can beat in one sitting or so and really have a good experience with. And I also see in the chat right here, Tony's responding to Derivative, because Derivative, thank you so much, saying there are a lot of horror RPGs. We'd love your expertise on this, Derivative. We'd love some recommendations, because yes, as Tony said, that's something he's interested in. He said, please hook a brother up. Got any names or links? I'm curious to any turn-based RPGs or JRPGs. Yes, please let us know.
I'm not a big fan of turn-based RPGs, to be honest, and I'm always pleasantly surprised when I find a game like this.
Yeah.
Because it's
that you like despite of certain things.
Yeah, in spite of it being, there's certain. I'm not a fan of roguelites, but there are certain roguelites that I actually find myself enjoying. Yeah. I don't like having to go. Repeating a game is one thing. Having to go back all the way to the beginning, going back to the level is one thing. But to go back and start all over from scratch, just it really irks me.
So that is one criticism I have of this one. It is a small, very small criticism, but there is a key battle at the end of the game. A key battle that, as you can imagine, me saying key battle at the end of the game, it is a determining factor in what ending you get. That's one of the determining factors of what ending you get. I dislike the fact, or one thing I'll say I do like, when after you get your ending, you can retry again to get a different ending. After the credits roll, you get the full ending. It the story explains everything that happens, which is nice. But then it says, "Would you like to retry?" And it retries you right at that has you retry right at that pivotal point, which I think is awesome. And then it even gives you the option to skip past a certain amount. But after you skip past a certain amount, then it doesn't allow you to skip any further. So if you're like me, which I had a situation where I had the boss or one of these bosses down to like this little health, and I made one mistake on a move, died, and I had to redo it all, then it's just like I had to click through everything over again without skipping it. I was just like, come on. This is like several minutes of clicking through dialogue with no skip feature or nothing like that. Again, a small, negligible, very small and
little
negligible.
things. I can see how that does get a little annoying. And like I was saying about,
it does
about turn-based. Like sometimes when you take a character's turn, it just takes forever. It's so long because you defeat the one, then you got to defeat the other, then you have to defeat the one. And it's like, I just want you guys to die. Like, I just want y'all to die so that I can move on. You know?
Yeah, I totally feel you on that, and I think that's again though that's where I'm feeling just a little nitpicky because everything else feels super solid for sure, and
then having to go back and click through
that was just one thing, and that's the very end of the game, and the other parts of the game are very breezy, so definitely don't let that be a turn off from playing. But that part is just a moment of frustration, I'll say, especially because the ending I originally got was not the ending I would hope for, so then you want to play it again there. A couple other things I do want to mention. I like the leveling system in this game. The leveling system is really cool because you get to choose how you level up. And the experience points in this game are these kind of, what is it, spirit points? What was the term? Spirit points? Was that
spirit points?
The spirit points. Yeah.
And then you just take those spirit points and then buy specific upgrades. And, that's a little bit different than a lot of JRPGs, which traditionally have your stats all level up certain types, and then you can pick specific specialties. But this one really allowed you, it just gave you the whole leveling system and said, you want to level up your health, you want to get a new attack, you want to get new magic, you choose. And at first I was like almost taken aback by the number of options I had, but then I kept on getting more and more deeper into it, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it, for sure.
Yeah, like the little scythe when you have to do then it just boop, the little scythe that kind of appears, it sort of like does your little gaugey. Yes. I liked it. It had a very when you're walking through like certain aspects of it, it was very sort of like Stardew Valley-ish, I guess you could say. Yeah. The way that you have to, garden story, the way you have to just kind of like in chat the what is it, the Zelda style? Yeah, I liked it. It was really, I was pleasantly surprised by it, because when you see the trailer on Steam, it doesn't do this game justice. It really doesn't. I was pleasantly surprised, and again, the replayability of it was nice. I like that.
Yeah, Tony. So it sounds like you'll be definitely finishing this one up.
Oh yeah, man! I get all my good game recommendations from Indie Game Club.
I love that,
from the audience, man.
I love that.
There's actually some we do this, like I was saying, we do this as a thing to really experiment in different indie games and provide our inputs or our perspectives. But definitely, there's some gems out there that I actually put in my own rotation of video games.
There's this one game that I really like. It's a little off topic, but it's like the Epistory game series, and there's one it's like the Typing Tales.
Yeah, I played those.
My hands hurt at the end of the game because you're playing the game
original,
utilizing the home row.
Yeah, it's a typing game. So if you're familiar with the classic Typing of the Dead style games, essentially, but this is like a RPG-ish style, where you're typing words to attack enemies and that sort of thing. I'm glad to hear, Tony, about that you've enjoyed this so much, and shout out to Legend for recommending this one. I appreciate you putting that on our radar, because I think I saw screenshots of it before, but I never delved too deeply into it. So I appreciate the recommendation, because this one was a very, very pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I've been, as soon as the Indie Game Club started, I was like, oh, guess what? Well, I want to play this one, because I've had this in my Steam for a really long time. I've just never really had the time to play it. Luckily with, us, we have, we have to make time to play these games.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So it was
real.
really nice. It was a really nice experience. I'm glad that I found it. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it. It's nice. I like this game a lot. And I don't say that a lot about games, honestly.
Yeah, I hear you. And this one is a great one, I think, to play during the Halloween season as well. As we said, it's rather, not only is it short, but it's kind of it's hard for me to say. Like, a lot of people, have been saying how cute and adorable it is, and it is that, but it also touches on some heavier subjects, especially the endings.
Surprising.
They get really heavy, actually, in some areas. So, yeah, I guess I'll just kind of leave it there for that specific piece. But I highly recommend it, especially during Halloween month, for everyone to try. And as we said, the pacing's quick and snappy, and it's only 2 to 3 hours or so. So make sure to give that one a try. This has been a good week. I think we got some really good games, right?
Yeah. Last week was good because I liked last week because we had like this huge list and we all played different games, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But I liked last week was good. This week I think was really good. I was pleasantly surprised by. I will honestly say that I will not play No Players Online again.
That one might have been one of the most exciting ones.
Because of you, Mike. Because you have told us. You dove so deep into it that I was just
I think I just rather watch his stream. I just rather watch his stream.
It might be worth just watching it because I was genuinely surprised. You definitely see me getting jump scared. I might rewatch my stream because I think that was rather entertaining, like playing through it. I will say this, if you guys don't mind doing me this favor, not only you two but also the audience watching, at least explore alternate reality games a little bit. Just, Google it, watch a video about it. There's several good YouTube videos that explore it because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised and maybe even blown away by some of the creative designs, and as you guys kind of alluded to earlier, like how creepy they can be and immersive. So I hear you on that, and that's the other part I love about Indie Game Club is not only do we have different opinions but different tastes about what we like and different experiences.
We had very different opinions this time. I think last time we all kind of had like the same balance to it, but this week we were just all like, nope, I don't like it.
I mean, that's my favorite part of this, to be honest, too. Like, I actually enjoy that the most. It's like when we do have different... Like, I get excited when you guys have different views than I do about stuff. Because it makes for a fun conversation, and it makes us, I think, all hopefully realize that, there's so many diverse tastes out there and developers playing to and creating to different tastes, which is always super fascinating for sure. Well, I know we don't, typically I'll say to everybody watching, especially when we started Indie Game Club, we had the schedule, I think 6 weeks in advance. So we had indie games all set up. Lately, we're kind of, playing it by ear, so to speak. As you heard Tony say, we took the paper combo recommendation or puppet combo recommendation from the Mage and ran with it. If you have recommendations for us for next week, we want to continue going down this spooky path. As we are still in Halloween, please let us know. Legend and Tony, do you guys, before we start wrapping up here, do you guys have any games that are kind of on your radar that you think might be worth exploring?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm a big as a retro gamer, I'm a big fan of Ys. The Ys franchise. Ys 8 is actually I prefer that over Breath of the Wild on the Switch. I'm actually currently playing Ys Origin, and I've never played BioShock before.
It's a good series.
I've never. So I'm going to play the first one, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. But right now, I'm playing Ys Origin on the Switch, and just the Ys franchise, I really enjoy.
Nice. Yeah, I know you're a big. It's cool when you were saying the games that are in your rotation, like what you said, Micromages, Babysitter Bloodbath, and what was the other one?
And this one right here.
Oh, they all. Grimm's Hollow. They all have that kind of retro feel to them. So it doesn't surprise me that you're drawn.
One thing I would say too. One thing on a side note is that I'm a poser. I'm not a big PC gamer. So I use Xpatter. And I tell people I live by that application and I make little profiles for each game that I play. So I use Xpatter. I use a controller for every PC game that I play,
including first-person shooters.
Including first-person shooters.
No, that's the one thing I will disagree with you, my friend. I'm totally cool with controller on most things, but I feel like certain things on PC, real-time strategy games. Yeah,
I know keyboard and mouse is better on first-person shooters. It's just that I don't know.
Yeah,
I suck at
it depends on the game. I think it really depends. There's some games that I prefer keyboard mouse. I think, Neon Abyss, right? We talked about that when we had that on here too. That I liked. Yeah. I would have preferred it on keyboard mouse than playing it on the Xbox because it just seemed like you'd have more, just more maneuverability.
I actually tried it.
Games, I think, depending on what you're playing, if it's like a battle royale like type of game, or like a story based, or if I don't know, it for me personally, it depends because I don't like having. I would rather just hold the button down. I don't want to have to spam. In some shooters, you have to completely spam the mouse, and that just gets so exhausting. I'd rather just hold the mouse down and have it just pew, pew, pew,
I feel you.
For me,
So, I play Steam in big picture mode too.
Hey, that's fine too. I had my PC set up to connected to my TV for years, actually. And played a lot like that for sure, especially right out of college.
That's how I play now. Actually, it's just my TV.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of the games that you guys suggest are more intense for me because I'm using a TV.
Surrounding, completely engulfed.
But that's so yeah. If anybody on the call or anybody, Origin is freaking solid. I freaking love that game. But Xpatter, look into it, man. I know we anybody on the chat and stuff like that. We play a lot of PC games. Some of them actually cross over into console. But if you're like me and a little timid, want to touch the PC master race waters, Xpatter is the way to go.
Yeah.
Xpatter, Xpadder.
Yeah, we should say I think Grimm's Hollow has native controller support. It's not mentioned.
No,
it did for me.
On Steam it does not. So I actually end up using Xpatter also. I know.
I played it on Steam and it was fine. I put in an Xbox One controller. I didn't have to configure anything.
I used the Xbox 360 controller, and no, man, it popped up in a window, and I didn't have any controls. I ended up using Xpatter.
Interesting. So for me, it popped up. All the controls were listed as keyboard, but I just moved around my Xbox One controller, and it played just fine. And I think it had A and B as the main buttons there to operate with. I'm going to be curious, Tony, what you think as far as the ending. Maybe all three of us can connect afterward about that because I think I got two of the endings, but I can imagine.
I think I have two.
Yeah, I can imagine what the other endings could be depending on how far your character's leveled up and how you do that battle. So I can see there being other endings outside of what I got there. But I've had a lot of fun this week with these games. This has been really great. We really had a diverse array of games, not only in theme, but in gameplay style as well. But shout out to all of those who participated in the audience here. Thank you so much for all of those who hosted, liked, followed. Really appreciate you sending in the bits as well. Thank you so much. Please let us know if you have any game recommendations for us. We certainly, as you heard, love getting that stuff. Tony the Tiger, giving a shout out to Derivative there. Definitely make sure to check out Derivative's channel. Before we sign off here, and we're going to keep our tradition going of raiding a channel. In fact, what we might do is raid the Mage's channel. I think that seems fitting, right? I think we're going to raid his next. Yeah. But before we go here, Legend and Tony, can you tell people how they can follow you, talk to you, all that good stuff? Legend, let's start with you.
Oh, yeah. Follow me, like I said earlier. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat. Again, appropriate photos, please. If you're gonna send something inappropriate, at least draw a face on it. Listen, I use it for text. That's why I have it, because it's easier for me. As a content creator, you want to try to get your stream out as quickly as possible, so it's easy just to be boop, boop, and
Yeah.
then it's all one message, like the same like people all at once. So
Yeah.
for me, that's honestly why I use it.
Yeah.
Maybe
I've never downloaded it, actually. I've never used it.
I like the filters.
Yeah.
The filters
That's
are
what I heard.
adorable.
Yeah.
I like the filters.
Well,
I'll swear.
well,
on
guys,
you.
my phone number is.
I know.
What's your address, Tony?
Hey,
If I wanted to send a babysitter bloodbath your way.
Ray, I'm gonna email send out my info. I
most
swear.
definitely. Tony Tiger 90. You can just pop that into Google. I mean, I'm the only person who seems to have that handle. But one thing is that you'll always see me on Posters and Pixels Discord page in the general chat, talking about console wars and just talking with a few other guys,
I love it.
man. But we blow that thing up, man. So
it's always
Posters
fun.
and Pixels Discord general chat is where it's at.
I love it.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect ad right there. We need to get that on
Yeah.
make a full commercial out of that.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah, we need to have more, especially as the console wars heat up. We might have to do some special episodes just about that, just like a big debate show. That would be a lot of fun.
Okay, I'll leave it this way. There's so many analysts in there saying that the Nintendo Switch will be the #1 selling console for this holiday season. And this could be because of production. This could just they just produced. They got their act together and they're finally in production.
But are they actually shipping in stores yet? I haven't looked for the longest during COVID. I haven't needed them for myself, but for Potions and Pixels, some of the educational programs we do, I've been wanting to get them to do some Labo stuff with youth in the area.
Oh, how about Labo though?
Well, I actually have Labo. I have tons of Labo. I have shout out to Lowe's for sponsoring our youth program. So we have Labo on deck, but Switch
Labo and Ring Fit is hard to find.
Yeah.
You can find Switches now in Target and Walmart, Best Buy. You can
the standard version you've been seeing pop up at the store.
Just the regular standard, not even the light. So you
can
find them now.
Good, finally.
But that's why they believe that it will be the #1 selling console, because they have very big doubts about the production of PS5 or how the capacity.
Microsoft does seem fairly confident that they're going to have enough on store shelves for this holiday.
Well, they seem confident about a lot of things lately.
I think rightfully so.
Don't disrespect our god, Phil Spencer.
Yes, exactly. Our deity here.
And maybe you should remove. Like I got my daughter a new laptop for her, because we were doing the virtual schooling, and hers is just, poor thing, it's just dying. She doesn't want to believe me that it's dying, but it's dying.
It's a Microsoft one.
It's a cute little HP.
Okay. I was going to say, is Phil Spencer responsible for it?
Well, he is, but if he is such a god, then maybe he could remove Mixer from the thing, because I'm setting it up the thing and I'm scrolling and it says Mixer and I'm like, it's not there anymore.
Yo, Mixer, let me go ahead and Bing that real quick.
Let me go ahead and Bing Mixer on old school Internet Explorer. Yeah, I feel you on that for sure.
I think it's called Edge.
Yeah, is it Edge now? Right? Is it Edge?
Okay, let's stop clouding. That's a whole nother. Hey,
I don't Google Edge. I don't Edge. Thank you. I Chrome.
I hear you.
Mike, you should put like a hashtag console wars or something like that. As one of the hot. So that way, I was talking. Who was it? Baltistic? Yeah, I forgot the guy's name.
Barbastic?
Like, you guys. Yeah, he's like, yo, you guys just keep blowing up the chat.
Good. That's fun. We got to keep it going. This is one of my favorite things to talk about, especially as we enter. I mean, a new console generation. This is like, seeing a certain constellation in the sky, right? It only happens.
Yeah, well, it's also a big question with new consoles coming out. What's going to happen to PC and gaming now? Or is it still going to be as relevant?
Oh, for sure. I think so.
Steam. Yeah, Steam will be fine. Yeah, and then I think they'll be all right. Yeah.
Oh, I guess we're lighting up the chat about Edge. Maybe we need to do a show just about Edge.
Built off of Chromium.
King of the Nerds saying, it's Edge now, still slower than others. Nomad saying Edge is built off of Chromium, the open source version of Chrome. Interesting.
Let me tell people this. I'm about to put people on. So I actually somewhat sold myself to Microsoft because Bing, I actually use Bing instead of Google, because Bing actually has something called Bing Rewards, and each time you get up to 5,000 points, you get $5 off an Amazon gift card. So yes, I'm for sale.
Now, how many times have you been able to redeem that, Tony?
So since I've had it, I mean, shoot, like between 5 and 10 times, dude. Like,
Really?
I actually.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say like in 10 years I've earned one $5 gift card.
They'll have just enough to.
Yeah.
It's being on my personal computer. I even log into my work laptop and log into Bing there, and I have it on my phone. And anytime I Google something, because I Google shit crap all the time, now I Bing it, and yeah, I get $5. I just got a $5 Amazon gift card from Bing Rewards.
Okay.
And they do like 1 month of Game Pass. They do like 1 month of Xbox Live.
Okay,
like
interesting.
Yeah.
We might.
Yeah,
all right.
Hey, I'm for sale. I'm for
Yeah,
sale.
maybe Indie Game Club.
Nvidia also has a new streaming service too that you can use. That's
Who does?
supposed to be Nvidia.
Oh,
They
yeah.
come out with a streaming service now.
Yeah,
Have they
Nvidia's.
had it?
Yeah, well, they've had the Shield
Yes.
For quite some time, but their whole streaming service, like they're pushing pretty hardcore. Which I was surprised at how far they went into it. Originally, the Shield stuff was kind of their main focus there, but yeah, it's apparently it's really good too.
That should be a whole nother thing. Because the console wars, all right, cool. It's only like 3 different players in the console wars. Let's talk about the cloud wars. I'm talking about Amazon, wherever the heck they call it.
Yeah, I actually forgot already.
Amazon Luna. Amazon Luna. You got GeForce.
Stadia.
You got XPass. You got Stadia. Everyone's gaming for your thing. Gaming for
Yeah.
it,
Yeah, in fact, Polygon, I think this last week did a lot of coverage about the cloud game wars. So I bookmarked those articles. I haven't checked it. They were also talking about like the environmental consequences of things shifting over to the cloud, which I'm very curious about in terms of I don't know.
I was worried about safety when it comes to the cloud because it stores so much stuff.
Yeah.
Not that I have any. I make myself sound so shady.
You sound like you're in an ARG conspiracy.
I've got things that I just don't need people to know about, okay? I'm just if it leaks. Who knows what could happen?
What he was saying is, someone put in this Stadia trash, definitely. But ones I would recommend for people on the call is GeForce Now connects to Steam, and you can play certain Steam games, not all.
True.
And XPass, I actually play it on my Chromebook, so you can download the Android app for Chromebook for xCloud, or and I play
for Game Pass
xCloud on my thing.
Yeah,
Game Pass
for sure.
And I play it on my Chromebook.
Yeah, good point. And we do have King of the Nerds saying it still is going to be relevant considering Nvidia just released the 30 series of cards, which are more powerful than the new console graphics. Also, once paired with new sets of CPUs, that should soon follow. PC gaming is still going to be stronger than consoles. Yeah, that's an area where I actually don't have much doubt. I feel like PC gaming is only going to get better and better.
Well,
I think competition's going to be tight, though. I really do.
Have you heard about Apple coming in now? Because the new A14 chip that they use in their iPhones is now more powerful than their Macs. And so now they're thinking about coming out with a new Google TV in November that will have the A14 chip in it, and that supposedly can power just be like a gaming PC.
Well, that'll be interesting. I will say I actually like Apple Arcade. I'm a big fan. I've had it for quite some time. Although I guess I should be upfront that I've paid for it the last few months and haven't actually played any of it, so I probably need to reevaluate that sort of thing.
I fell off of that too, yeah.
But Apple Arcade is really good.
They can buy their way in.
They can.
There was rumors that they're trying to get like they're trying to get like a software that will be as big as Breath of the Wild. Them, like Microsoft, can buy their way to be a winner. they can buy their way. Microsoft can keep buying studios and can win that way, and then Apple has crazy money that they can probably just buy their way.
But I think they're also realizing that it's not just money. I mean, because think about Amazon. Amazon, obviously, we're streaming on Twitch, which is owned by Amazon. Amazon obviously is already a big player in the gaming world, but they've put a lot of money into a lot of projects that really haven't amounted to much either. So it's kind of like, also like Apple TV Plus, I should say. Like Apple's kind of figuring things out, but they haven't quite got there. It is really interesting how many people have jumped on here in the chat about this subject. King of the Nerds, laughing about Apple, laughing about Stadia. Gaming on Apple is about as relevant as Stadia. I'll challenge that a little bit. I will say though, because I think we're too quick to judge. We're too quick to judge streaming gaming services like Stadia. I mean, because this is still early on. So the fact of the matter is, I don't think we're going to be having that same opinion in a few years, to be honest. I mean, I honestly...
I say in a few months. I say in a few months in spring. Remind you, Xbox still lists Fortnite as a launch title for Xbox, for the Xbox series. So what I'm saying is, a lot of things can change in like 6 months.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little longer, but yeah, I feel you on that. I mean, I think eventually, but to a couple points about that, I just want to respond to a couple of these. Derivative is saying, I'd be happy if the Cloud Wars have no winners, to be honest. Too easy for games to be lost to time. And I know, Derivative, that's something that's very near and dear to you, is making sure that there's no game that remains undiscovered. I will say this, I actually think that cloud gaming is overall quite beneficial. I mean, think about it from a number of standpoints. I mean, the Google Stadia kind of dream, or what they sold, isn't actually there yet, but the whole idea of being able to just watch, for example, a content creator play a game and just click a button and be able to jump into that game either on your own or with them, the idea that you don't have to worry about upgrades, because as I'm a PC fanatic, I've built many of my own PCs, and I love that whole idea, but I also realize that if we want to be able to reach as wide of an audience as possible, you ideally don't even want them knowing about, a 3080 NVIDIA RTX graphics card. Those things, you ideally want people going into the experience expecting the highest fidelity possible stream. Now, is streaming the highest fidelity? Does that compare to having a home hardware setup? Probably not the exact same equivalent, but as we move forward and more into the future, I think it's going to be less likely that we're going to be buying consoles than it is just subscribing to services. And I will say this last point is that I still vividly remember the days where people were laughing at Valve about the idea of Steam. Now, I'm not trying to do a little straw man argument here, but Steam at the time, people were lampooning it. I remember in high school, people were lampooning the idea of Steam, and we know how that turned out. So I think Google and Stadia have some realistic opportunities here.
Well, one thing I would say for King of Nerds, I sold my Xbox One for a Switch, and I don't regret it at all until the fact that I realized I have a huge library of Xbox games that I can no longer play because I don't have an Xbox. Mm-hmm. So I am technically getting the Xbox Series S this coming up November 10th, specifically because of Game Pass, because it has all that stuff. And then I just have a huge backlog of games that I've already bought. But with that also being said, for even PlayStation or Xbox, me and Mike were talking about this. You don't have to rush into it. I think, if you buy your Xbox or PlayStation in March or April, you're just as fine, probably better off because you saved money during the holiday season.
Yeah, this will probably be the first time. I mean, I buy all these. I'm used to going. Switch I got on launch day. A lot of this stuff I buy, for Potions and Pixels as well. So we have multiple setups of this. But this might be the first time because we're not doing live events for Potions and Pixels. And I personally don't feel the need to get the PS5 or Series S or X yet. And part of it is what I think Nomad and King of the Nerds are talking about here. I make no secret about this. You all know, Tony laughed about it or jokingly agreed. We're fans of Phil Spencer, and I'm a very big fan of the strategy Xbox is taking. But to King of the Nerds, or I think to Nomad's point, he says you don't really need an Xbox if you have a decent computer, and that's partly true.
I don't have an Xbox, but I am a Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscriber. So I have a computer, and I do gaming, and I do game on that. There's certain titles that you can't get that on one that you can't get on the other. But for the most part,
and that's increasingly less.
Accessibility can be an issue too. You know what I mean? Because like you're saying, there's some things that you can get on one that you can't get on the other. And then when it comes to Steam or indies itself, it's so hard. I think for for smaller devs to really put themselves out there when there's so much going on as far as like because most companies like Microsoft and Apple, they don't really pay attention to indie games unless it's actually sort of moving up the Twitter feed, pretty much. You know,
I
once
agree
it starts
to an
becoming
extent.
part of the conversation, you know, then they'll pick up. Like Earthfall is a really good first-person shooter game. It's based on alien. It's kind of like Left 4 Dead, but it's with aliens.
Yeah.
I like it because you can either do a campaign mode or you can do just kind of like a battle royale where it's you and the NPCs or friends that you have, you know, killing like mad rushes of aliens. You know, there's different waves each time. Everything gets a little more difficult. You earn points, and those points kind of get you upgrades as far as your weapons are concerned. What I liked about Earthfall the most is that if you do end up soloing a game, you can actually set the level of the NPCs to where they can do stuff for you. They can't do the main objectives, but they can at least do they can kill some of the beasts that you can't handle.
Gotcha.
Which is really nice, and it was so really good. I think Xbox talked about it, not the last one, but I think the year before. It was actually at you know, where they do the big was it like the E3 or when Xbox was announcing its game, and it was like when the Cyberpunk was being announced, the Earthfall was there, and now Earthfall is dead. Like nobody sees it anymore, and it was so popular because of the word of mouth that it was going, because people thought, oh, you know, it's a Left 4 Dead-ish. You know, people have been waiting and hoping for a Left 4 Dead like remake,
which is finally it got a big update recently.
Yeah, they did, cool. And I loved it. I played it recently with the gals.
That's right.
Yeah, we got lost and we died a lot, but it was fun.
I'm sure it was definitely a good time.
Yeah, a bunch of ladies screaming. It was hilarious. But yeah, it just completely died out. You know, no one plays anymore because they thought that was going to be a replacement for it. But because, you know, people started talking about it, people stopped playing in it, and then it's dead now. It's gone. It's completely lost in the shuffle. You know?
I think that's one of the cool things about Game Pass, though, is that games that are on Game Pass can either get a boost or to their audience, especially online games. Because while you were talking about like indie game stuff, I was going back and I loaded up Game Pass right now on PC just to like look through. And I will say I think overall the Xbox team has done a pretty damn good job of mixing in different.
I like Game Pass because it gives me the opportunity to play a game that I've technically bought, but I haven't really paid for.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Was it Battletoads? I was playing that when it first released.
Battletoads is fun. I've gotten into Black Desert Online on the Xbox, actually. I've been playing that because it's nice being able to play a game like that uses so many keys on the controller. Boop, boop, boop. It's so much fun. And it's got the auto walk.
Someone said, and I would have to agree, Xbox Game Pass is really the best gaming value on PC.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's the best value in gaming, period, at the moment.
Period.
It's, I mean, the amount of content here is really, really awesome. And I'm just looking at the newest stuff because I actually haven't played much Game Pass stuff
and I will have to say that your homie, Phil, has done well with that. I mean, that was definitely a good... You know, especially in the time, right? You guys...
Shout out to Phil, Xbox.
And I'll let some people on the stream know, and just some people in the room. So Xbox Game Pass, what a lot of people don't realize, if you go on the app, they actually have a lot of free stuff, like 3 months of Postmates. One of those happens to be 3 months of Discord Nitro.
Yeah.
And you get 2 server boosts per month. So, if you actually know anybody who has a Discord and you're willing to capitalize on something free that's given to you, definitely that would be a smart idea to do those server boosts.
Yo, thanks. Shout out to Tony for that. Yeah, hey, I'll say it more directly. If you got Game Pass, get the server boost the Potions and Pixels server right now. We can use some boosts.
Yeah, I'm just worried about indies. I think is my major concept because yes, Game Pass does. I will say that, you know, Game Pass does, and Xbox has done really well in the indie game, but you know, nothing PlayStation. I don't see them, you know, popping in a lot of indies. You know, Steam has done really well, opening up their, you know, the itch.io for the for indie games, and then you've got like Indie Boost, which I was telling Tony about.
Yeah.
It's a good way for you to get games as well.
Yeah, she chatted me that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been with Indie Boost since the beginning. I love their
awesome.
service. It's slowed down a little bit. I think they may need.
They rebranded as Catapult by Indie Boost.
They rebranded, Catapult, because it's the catapults for. It's actually a good paid opportunity. So if you are a content creator and you want to make a little bit of income, you want to try it. Indie Boost is the good way to go, because you do have with Catapult have paid opportunities with it.
That's cool.
Which is nice. It really, and you can negotiate with the devs, so you can kind of like bid for the game, and then if they agree to it, then you get paid that amount.
That's really interesting. Have you tried that before?
Rules for you to do.
Have you tried that before for that specific feature?
Oh yeah, I'm actually partnered with it.
Wow, that's cool.
But I do discuss it, and I do talk about it. I'm a huge fan of Indie Boost. I just love it. The accessibility. You have a free range of indies.
Yeah.
That you can talk to, and it cuts out the middleman. And I don't know if you guys saw about the big fiasco with Keymailer, how basically Keymailer is sort of like taking keys that don't belong to them and giving them to streamers, and then going to the devs or publishers themselves and saying, hey, here's all these people that I've given these, I guess they're trying to, what was it, like sort of they sell them, and it's this weird, like, dark black thing that devs are finding out that Keymailer is basically abusing their system. And they've, but I liked it because with Indie Boost, it's more legitimate. Like they only have so many keys that they can give out. And a lot of times when you contact Indie Boost, and you put in a request for the keys, the devs themselves will see it. And so they'll actually, I've gotten contacted, through them just by requesting a key because of the request that they get,
That's
and
cool.
Being a part of Catapult does sort of help with that. But
nice.
that's where I get most of my indie keys. Or I troll Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I troll Twitter. I got the Instagram. That's how I play most of my indie games, and where I find most of my keys is just by trolling it. Because the analytics are key. Like streamer, like my streamer Twitter is completely different probably than like y'all streamer Twitter.
Hey, guys, I just realized I gotta eat dinner.
Oh yeah, no, we're all kind of like signing off. We went on such a tangent.
This is some good conversation.
We always have good convos.
Like I don't know, yeah,
for
Breakfast
sure.
Club, not the movie, not the
not the radio show.
We're like the what is it? Not the brunch club. Whatever. Like we're just the cocktail hour.
The lunch bunch. I love it. Well, what I'll do right here then is I'm going to go ahead and as we're signing off here, I'm going to continue our tradition of raiding other channels. So we're going to go ahead and raid the Mage's channel while we sign off here. So make sure to show the Mage some love, give him a follow, say hello. I think he's playing some Counter-Strike right now, but we're going to go ahead and do that. Let's clap it up one last time for Tony and Legend. Thank you so much. Really appreciate y'all as always. And let's go ahead and raid over there, and we will see you all in the Mage's channel. Cool. Thanks, everyone. Good night.